record on this
hold.
computer.
There we
Got
go.
it. Right, do you want to turn the host over to me so I can see if there
Right,
is,
I'm going to
if I can see?
right. Will you admit everybody in, Emma? Emma,
Yeah,
will
well,
you
I'll try.
admit everyone in?
Yeah, if you give me the hosting, I'll admit everyone if it comes up.
It says I can make you co-host.
Oh,
Right.
do that.
Okay, do that. Yeah.
Because that means you can
Right,
both
I've done it.
accept
Can you
people.
see?
Yes.
And Sarah, just accept everyone now yourself quickly while
So,
Emma does it as well, just so we
Yeah.
get everyone through the door.
right. So we're mute on participation. Yeah.
Oh, good. There we go. The room's filling up nicely.
Right. Yeah. Oh, plenty of people here.
Hi, everyone. We're just letting everybody in the room now.
I'll just unmute. Right. That's Nick Pateras.
Hello, everybody. We're just getting everyone on the Zoom. Nice to see everybody tonight.
If you're a guest speaker, could you press raise hand so I can see you, so I can unmute you?
Sorry, that was me. Okay, right. I think everybody's in at the moment. So welcome to the MCPA industry representative meeting. Thank you everybody for sharing your time this evening. We all really appreciate it. Obviously we sent over the code of conduct that I'm hoping everyone's had a read through and things like that. And I'll go through straight into the introductions if that's okay with everybody. I know Professor Nutt, you've got your hand up. Would you like to say something?
Emma's just asked people to raise their hands to be unmuted, so all the guests have their hands up at the moment.
Oh, okay.
We're still waiting on Pierre.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if
Pierre
Karen
has just
joined.
messaged. He said he's going to be he's running a little late. Let me just check what he said.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, he said don't rush, just a heads up, he's just going to be a bit late, so let's just keep going. Okay, so thank you again everyone for coming. So we've got our attendees tonight. We've got Professor David Nutt. He's a world-renowned neuropsychopharmacologist. He's a medical doctor and a chairman of drug science, and he's also the author of the book Cannabis, Seeing Through the Smoke. We've also got Nick Pateras. He's recently appointed as CEO of Lyphe Group, a medical cannabis leader across the UK and Australia, following multiple global appointments within the cannabis sphere. We also have Karen Gray. She is a proud mother of Murray, who battles drug-resistant epilepsy, but has been seizure-free since June 2019, thanks to cannabis-based medical prescription treatment. She's currently the patient engagement manager for the Jorja Emerson Centre and a campaign focused on gaining more NHS access to medicinal cannabis products. We also have Pierre, who I don't think he's here at the moment, but he will be with us shortly. He's a pharmaceutical industry veteran of 35 years. He's the CEO of Pharma and chairman of the board of the Dutch National MS Society. And then we also have Dr. Sunny Nayee. He's the Integro clinical lead. He's the pain consultant and a recently appointed medical director at Integro Medical Clinics. So we've got some amazing guests here tonight. I'm just going to go through into the kind of standard questions that we have. So we'll go after the standard questions. We'll kind of go into the live questions direct from patients. So I'll kind of ask the questions, and then if anybody would like to answer them, if they could raise the hand, and then we can kind of go from there. So
Sarah, are we going to get to introductions before the first questions from each of the guests?
Sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. You have to apologise. Yeah, so let's do that. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the introduction. So if we could start with Professor David Nutt, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, if that's okay. Thank you.
Well, I think you said it all, really. I'm a psychiatrist, a neuropsychopharmacologist. Was the government's chief drugs advisor, got sacked for saying that cannabis was less harmful than alcohol, and have been campaigning for a rational approach to cannabis, and particularly cannabis-based medicines, for the last 15 years. And my charity Drug Science has done an awful lot of work in this space, including setting up T21, which is this huge natural study of people using medical cannabis in the private system. because it's not in the NHS yet. Over 4,000 patients, fascinating results. But I've also, some of my team have also been working with parents of children with severe treatment-resistant epilepsy, and we've published several papers there as well. So I'm campaigning all the time to get cannabis in its rightful place as a useful medicine across many brain disorders and other disorders as well.
Thank you. That's fantastic. We're all aware of the absolutely amazing work that you do in the cannabis industry. So thank you. And that's from myself as well. Okay, so can we go to Nick Pateras? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Emma, if you could unmute Kieran, please, as well.
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for having me again, Sarah and team. So my name is Nick Pateras, as Sarah mentioned. I'm the CEO of Lyphe Group. Lyphe Group, as people probably know, is the parent company of a few different businesses in the UK and Australia. So in the UK, Lyphe Group sits on top of Lyphe Clinic and Dispensary Green, so clinic and pharmacy business. And in Australia, we also have a clinic license as well and a wholesaling business. Lyphe Group was born out of a previous business a few years ago. People on this call probably will be aware that Lyphe Group is undergoing some changes at the moment. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that to the extent that I can. There is a certain process that's being undertaken at the moment. So I'll share what is possible and kind of explain where I can't go into too much detail. I myself have been in cannabis for about almost 8 years now. So my background actually is in more traditional healthcare in large healthcare companies like Johnson & Johnson. And that was working across North America. Moved into cannabis when I was in Canada, almost 8 years ago. My first company was really focused on collecting data so that doctors and patients can make informed decisions about the most effective products for their specific conditions and treatment programs. And then I moved back to Europe 4 years ago, as I was very interested in the law change that happened in the UK 5 years ago and really wanted to be a part of the industry here. I'm also a patient. I've been a patient since 2017, so both in Canada and in the UK, and just really happy to be on this call and hear from others and the questions that we have.
Thank you, Nick. That's fantastic. Okay, I'll also pass over to Karen Gray. If you could introduce yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. I'm an accidental activist. That's what I call myself. Due to my son, basically, he's got drug-resistant epilepsy. He was in one of the studies that Professor Nutt was talking about there. And I had to smuggle the oil. Long story. I started a petition in 2018 to give to the government to get them to change the law. And they, after they changed the law, we all know that it didn't really work very well for the NHS, really, did it? So yeah, my son Murray's been seizure free now for 4 years. He's been really, really good. We think that he's maybe not, he doesn't have his syndrome anymore. 50% of kids can grow out of it. We just don't know if he's in that bracket. So we have started weaning him and he's doing really, really well. So that's really good. I also started up a charity with 3 other parents called Intractable Epilepsy. And what we do is we raise funds to pay for the private prescriptions for the children that are being prescribed it. Because some of us are paying, some of them are paying over £2,000 a month. I'm still paying over £1,000 a month for this oil. It's really expensive. What else? I do help with End Our Pain with Joanne Griffiths. She runs that. She's opened it up for everybody to get access through the NHS, and also with the George Emerson Centre. That's where I am now, because I know Robin Emerson. It's his daughter's clinic, and she suffers from epilepsy as well. That's why he set up this clinic to help others, and he asked me to be the patient engagement manager, and I had to say yes because it means I can help more people. So that's basically my story.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Karen. It's fantastic to hear how, cannabis just helps more or less everybody, well, that I've heard from. I don't think Pierre is here at the moment, so I can get him to introduce himself when he comes in later on. Is Dr. Sunny Nayee, is he in? Hi, Dr. Sunny. Could you introduce yourself? Thank you. Oh, unmute you. Done it.
Hi, can you hear me now? Perfect, excellent.
Yes.
So my name's Dr. Sunny Nayee. I'm a consultant in pain medicine. And Spend most of my working week working at Imperial. It's one of the biggest NHS trusts in West London. I'm quite fortunate to be working in a pain department where we have several clinicians that are quite interested in medical cannabis. The hospital I work in is a big neurosciences centre. So we see a lot of patients that have essentially, tried and failed a lot of conventional treatments, be they spinal surgery in particular. We're also a very big cancer unit as well, so we get a lot of patients that come across our conventional sort of NHS pain clinic with cancer pain as well. And I got interested in medical cannabis back in 2020 when I went to a talk hosted by Professor Barnes, that I'm sure many people will be aware of, and have been prescribing ever since, really. And have had good results. And I got interested in medical cannabis because a lot of my patients were using it, consuming cannabis and having good results. I think being a pain consultant and getting to know people over a period of time, much as a GP would do in the olden days, gave me the opportunity to talk to them about other things that they were doing to help them with their symptomology. So being interested in medical cannabis, see patients via the Integro clinic, which is one of the CQC registered clinics, being constantly amazed and impressed with the good results that we're getting with patients.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so obviously we'll wait for Pierre later on, so I'll move on to the questions that we have for tonight. We've got a few questions from patients that we pull from the Discord that we gather from over the month, and we've got a couple of standard ones. I'm just having a look through.
Pierre's just joined us, Sarah, if you want to give him a chance to introduce himself.
Great. Pierre, are you here? If you'd like to introduce yourself, I'll ask you to unmute. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sarah. Good to be here. So yeah, Pierre from Weperen. I am CEO of Pharma. 35 years history in pharmaceutical industry. Joined cannabis 5 years ago. And as most of you will know, Pharma is a joint venture between Grow Group and IPS Specials, who also run our pharmacy, and we're also very closely linked to Integro clinics.
Thank you for that, Pierre. Okay, cool. So we'll go on to our standard questions. I'm just trying to think how we can kind of ask these. Ralph, do you want to, with the standard questions, obviously we've got some that aren't really aimed at specific people, but ones that are kind of a broad thing, and if anyone wants to answer about them, that could be great, and then we'll go into the questions later on. So I'm just looking through the questions now to see what we could go through. So is anyone willing to share a little insight into your own journey into the medical cannabis industry, and what sparked your actual interest in the medical cannabis industry to begin with, and what kind of motivates you to continue? I'm just seeing who would like to take that first question. Or I could actually, what I'll do is I'll actually point it at someone. So I'll ask Professor David. No, sorry. Oh, did you put your hand up? Sorry about that, Karen. Go on.
You want me to speak, or are you going to somebody else?
I thought you wanted to speak.
No, I just suddenly became unmuted.
I'm
happy to share. I mean,
if you want to start, that would be great. Thank you.
I'll go for it. I'm actually a patient as well. I'm a patient through the Jorja Emerson Centre as well. So that's been really, really good. That's my journey is just really through my son, to be honest, and now through myself. So it's helped him so much, and I advocate for it so much. I should, see if it helps me, and it really does. It's fantastic. So that's why I advocate for it as well. But mainly I became interested in because of my son. So, but I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Sorry, a bit of confusion, but we'll get there in the end. Okay, so with the standard questions, okay. I've
Professor Nutt has his hand up, Sarah.
Professor Nutt, sorry. Oh, hang on, let's just unmute you.
So you asked me about my journey. Well, I mean, obviously I'm a psychopharmacologist, so I've known about cannabis ever since I've known about brain research. But I didn't really get that interested in it as a potential medicine until 1998, when the House of Lords had a consultation. They set up a committee to look at medical cannabis. And I gave evidence to that committee. And at that time, I was under the impression, wrong impression, that basically we had the tools to explore it. In that we had drugs like nabilone, which I actually had prescribed as a junior doctor many years before. But after they had their hearings and wrote their report, which I can recommend now, it's a brilliant document. It summarizes the value and the evidence of medical cannabis in an extremely good way. And it's done 20 years on. It was published in 2000. 22 years on, it's still an outstanding document. And I realized that I was wrong and that there was more to cannabis than I thought. And that's when I began to get interested. And I was part of the government's review committee that actually decided to downgrade cannabis from Class A and B into Class A in 2004. And then I fought a number of battles with the various Home Secretaries to maintain it in Class C. I lost that battle. It was moved up to Class B, and then I got sacked. But anyway, I just and now I'm doing my own work with drug science. But so yes, my mind has been opened by evidence and a lot of it now coming from what we've done in drug science, where we must have published 10 papers now on medical cannabis, and it's been staggering how effective it is for so many people.
Thank you, Professor David Nutt. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, obviously I'm here myself because, cannabis has changed my life. I wish I would have known about it 20 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of trouble and stress. I'll just leave it at that. But is there anyone else who would like to answer that question? So the question again was, second. Background. So it was, can you share a little insight into your journey into the medical cannabis industry and what sparked your interest to begin with? What motivates you to continue?
Fucking hell, man.
We've had a comment from Dr. Sunny in the chat. He says, I think for me, it is a fascinating area of research. There is a move towards real world evidence, especially after COVID and people thinking about evidence in a critical way. I think COVID has made people think about medical evidence in another way.
I just want to highlight that. I think for clinicians that I see on a day-to-day basis, they do understand that there's this paradigm of medical evidence where we've always talked about randomized controlled trials, and that's how big pharmaceuticals conduct medical trials when it comes to drugs. And I think COVID has really made everyone talk and think about medical evidence in a particular way. We've had a debate about, do we really need to wear a mask? How effective are masks in stopping the transmission of COVID? And I think that, perhaps it's been fortuitous that medical cannabis has sort of been legalized at the same time that we've gone through this pandemic, because I think there's been a lot of debate within the medical community about evidence and what is evidence, what does it mean? And certainly I'm quite used to, in pain medicine, having a trial of N=1. It doesn't really matter whether something works for someone else. What matters is whether it works for you. And medics that don't do pain medicine sometimes find that quite hard to get to grips with, really. So certainly as a clinician, what gets me interested and excited about medical cannabis is the opportunity to do more research and to sort of really get to grips with this. And I know that's certainly what drug science and Project 21's tried to do, to try and gather this real world data and try and put it into practice.
Thank
So
you.
Sarah, we have a
yeah.
number of questions here, which are general questions, and then we have some more specific ones. Should we maybe go to the
We're gonna-
specific ones and then intermix them as we continue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
we're
also
gonna open it
a
up
couple
to
of
other
questions in the
but-
chat as well that are building up over time.
Yeah, I'm just going to say we've got some questions. I was just going to read Suzanne's question out for Dr. Sunny Nayee. She said that she was wondering, she's a patient with Integro, but she's also part of the T21 program. Are you willing to note T21 on prescriptions in future? A few people from the clinic were wondering, so I thought I would ask on their behalf. Yeah, that looks like a yes. I'm muting you.
We just need to be told. I think that's so. Yeah, just let the clinic know. Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, that's brilliant. Did you see any more, Ralph?
There was one other, I believe. Yeah, can I ask Professor Nutt, what is the one thing we as medical cannabis patients can do to campaign to get cannabis available on the NHS?
Oh, Doctor, 1 second. I'm just going to unmute. Yeah.
Well, you need to vote tactically in the next election. You need to vote to remove this government. And if you've got a chance to get a Lib Dem in, you vote for Lib Dem. Lib Dems have absolutely categorically said they will almost, well, they have said in the last election they would actually decriminalise all cannabis possession, and they would definitely be very sympathetic to revising the law. So that's what you can do.
An astute remark there. I guess this all does come down to political will at the end of the day.
Yeah. Look, the cannabis laws were made. I mean, I don't know if you all know this, but cannabis was a medicine in Britain until 1971. In 1971, the US gave us something in exchange for making it illegal. We don't know what that was. No one seems to remember. It's presumably a lot of money to have an air base here or a submarine base. We changed the law, and the real paradox is that the American states, 20 years later, started changing the law back, but we haven't changed the law back because there's both parties, Labour and the Tories, have used cannabis and cannabis users as a fear to keep old, usually white voters voting for them. So it's an outrageous way we've controlled, particularly recreational cannabis in this country, and that's actually the justification for that is actually already has contaminated so much of the clinical thinking about medical cannabis. Because when I talk to doctors, they say, well, of course, it's going to cause schizophrenia, which it doesn't. But that was a justification for keeping it illegal. So the cannabis laws have been politically driven since we were forced to adopt them in 1971.
It's worth noting that back during the Victorian era, cannabis was widely accepted as part of British pharmacopoeia. It's been something that's been used medicinally for hundreds, thousands of years throughout the globe. So it feels like very much, if you look throughout the history of cannabis, that current prohibition is very much kind of a blip and is not the norm throughout history. And I think that's finally being widely recognised again today. Sarah, passing things back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. Okay, so we'll kind of go on to the next question, which probably kind of ties in a bit with that, if anyone would like to chip in. It's where would you like to see the cannabis industry, medical cannabis industry, in 5-10 years' time? Ideally, where would you like it to be, and what steps are you personally or the organisation you work with taking to push it forward? Does anyone want to take that one? Or shall I aim it at anybody?
I like this threatening stance, Sarah. We can force people to respond on questions.
Yeah, shall I start at the beginning? Okay, so let's go through. Okay, so Professor David Nutt, where would you like to see medical cannabis in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I'd like to see the industry solvent, because one of the problems is that it isn't, and then companies are going under because they can't have access to NHS prescription charges, and until we do that, we're not going to have a proper rollout of cannabis. So we do have to change the attitude of the NHS, and we have to convince them that actually medical cannabis is very cost effective. The problem we have with the NHS is that budgets have been devolved to clinical commissioning groups. The actual ownership of the prescribing budget is usually in the hands of pharmacists. As Sunny said, there's an absolute obsession in the NHS and also at NICE with RCTs, which aren't going to happen with medical cannabis because you can't patent medical cannabis. So we need to do things differently. NICE and the MHRA have said they're going to take real evidence into consideration. Molly Meacher and I wrote to the head of the MHRA 6 months ago saying, show us what you're doing with real world evidence. Medical cannabis, they haven't even bothered to reply to her, who, as a member of the House of Lords, she really does deserve a reply. So we we're faced with a mixture of ignorance and deliberate blockade at all levels. So, but I just hope the companies can survive, because if the companies go bankrupt, there won't be any medical cannabis.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Okay. I was just going to jump in and say, because I know Dr. Sunny, you're in a little bit of a rush. So do we have any questions direct for Dr. Sunny before you may have to go? If anyone wants to put anything in the chat or anything, I'm just going to have a quick scan before. Or if anyone wants to put their hand up at all.
I think just to echo Professor Nutt, really, I think it is really important, because I think we're almost, I think the question was where will we be in 5 years' time, and we are making progress, but it does seem quite slow when you look at what Australia's doing with the TGA, and the numbers that come out of Australia, and it all seems to be quite pragmatic, and the various states are looking at sort of practical questions like, what is the advice that we should give patients with regards to driving, for example, and we seem to, I every week hear of patients that have potentially had trouble, or are still unclear about what the rules are with driving, for example. So it does seem like we've reached, that there's been a great deal of progress that's been made, but we need to keep the momentum up, because otherwise we're going to fall into this this current situation where we're in, which is certainly better than we were in, say, 2-3 years ago. But there are different paths and different trajectories. And I guess as clinicians and patients, we in some respects have a responsibility to carve out that path, because we certainly with take Germany, for example, that politicians don't necessarily know, and it was there was a debate earlier in the year, and there were 6 MPs that turned up to debate about medical cannabis. It was quite a poor showing, really. I think it's hard to know where we'll be in 5 years' time, but we will have a responsibility to take it forwards. I think forums like this, even forums like this, have taken quite a long time to set up. So this is part of the solution, really, in coming up with a cohesive plan as to how to take medical cannabis forwards in the UK.
Dr. Sunny, a question from Alex Fraser in the chat, and the most important point: how do we get more doctors prescribing today?
It's incredibly difficult. I did a talk amongst my peers, and there was a lot of interest in terms of the pharmacology behind medical cannabis, and then I asked whether people would be interested, and nobody put their hands up. And I think I don't think it's ignorance. I think doctors are so busy, they're so incredibly busy doing what they're doing at the moment, that they just literally don't have the capacity to even take anything on board. I mean, in our own trust, we have something called CPD, which is clinical professional development time. It used to get sort of 2.5 units of time to do that. It's been whittled down to 1 unit of time per week, sort of SPA time, and it makes it really hard for people to develop and learn and education. I think the NHS is just so run ragged that you're just so focused on literally just getting through your work day to day as a doctor, that the thought of doing anything that's controversial or might involve extra work is just something that most of my colleagues just don't. They're going home late every day. They just want to go home, spend time with their family, and just literally, like most other people in most of the professions, just get on with life day to day. And it's a really, really sad state of affairs for medicine, nursing in the UK. I think, to answer Alex, I think that I think is the problem. I don't think it's necessarily that doctors aren't educated or they're not interested in cannabis. I think it just isn't the scope. It's not the time.
A question off the back of that from Salazes from the Sanskara platform. What can we do as NHS workers to progress medical cannabis conversations in the context of EDI and patient safety? For example, patients and employees being able to access their medication. I assume the context here is while in a NHS hospital or a GP surgery, etc.
I think I'd come back to that to say that I think as a doctor working in the NHS, there are so many points of failure in terms of just basic conventional care that we see day to day. If the patient has a scan, an MRI scan or a CT scan down the road, I can't even see their MRI or CT results. I mean, and just this information sharing that would need to go on to enable safe, effective prescribing of a medication like medical cannabis, and also to get the data about efficacy, the infrastructure. And I think this plugs into the NHS is a mess, and I think everyone's trying to do their best, but I think that to progress medical cannabis in the UK on a backdrop of an NHS in crisis is incredibly difficult. And the irony of the situation is that it could actually be very helpful. It could be one of the alleviating factors. So it's you couldn't make it up. The situation that we have at the moment, where we've got something that potentially, a lot of the NHS budget is devoted to the very poor management of chronic conditions, and this is exactly where cannabis can be helpful. But I'll follow us back at Professor Nutt and Nick. In terms of how do we solve this problem? Because I don't see it as an isolated cannabis problem. I think it needs to fit into a wider NHS chronic care strategy, be it pain or psychiatric condition or neurological conditions. So back to the floor.
No, that was a fantastic insight there, Sonny.
We've had the hand up from Nick for a while here.
I was just about to move on to Nick. I was going to say we've got 2 more questions for you, Sonny. If you're happy to hang around a little bit longer, we'll get back to you in a second. First off, we have Nick and then Professor Nutt.
What I was going to say was that the 3 measures of progress that I always consider in terms of the industry and patient experience moving forward is around the 3 A's that I may have mentioned last time I was on one of these calls, but it's obviously access, assortment, and affordability. So access being that anyone who would benefit from medical cannabis can actually access it. I think that's where the NHS piece really comes in and drives that to a whole new level. Assortment is the second one, which is to say it's one thing to be able to access medical cannabis generally, but is the product assortment broad enough that for your specific condition, there's something that's actually efficacious, as opposed to being offered a narrow, limited list of products that may not really be the most effective for you. And I think in the UK, the industry is starting to get there, but we probably could see more formats and more products on the fringes, a bit of variety on, for example, top of mind is balanced strains, etc. And then affordability is something which is kind of a key piece, especially, again, that does also ties into the NHS element, but medical cannabis is pretty expensive. And while prices have come down, I think there's a long way to go. So those are the 3 by which I always measure progress. And, when I think about the industry every year, I kind of think about how in the last 12 months, each of those 3 moved forward. And then maybe in this country in particular, I'd probably add a 4th A, which is around awareness. Because the conversations that I've had since I moved back to the UK 4 years ago, and what we hear at Lyphe a lot, all the time really, is that patients or potential patients say, I think this would be really beneficial medication for me, but I didn't even know it was legal. I didn't even know the law changed, or that there is a way to access legal medical cannabis. We have those conversations with doctors as well all the time. Doctors say we didn't even know that it's possible to be trained on prescribing medical cannabis. So in a country like this, where it's been not an ugly duckling, but it's certainly kind of a law that was changed and done in the corner, in a dark corner of the room, without being really broadcast about the benefits it can have. I think that's a fourth one, as opposed to, I contrast that with, for example, Germany, which is a market I used to work in. And there was a big deal made about the cannabis law that was passed and implemented in March of 2017. It was a really big deal. And the framework reflected that, because all doctors, not just specialists, can prescribe, and there's no predetermined list of qualifying conditions in Germany. A doctor, a GP, is empowered to use his or her own medical discretion on whether a patient is eligible and what they should be treated with. And I think that's a big issue here as well. We know that the law was changed as a result of public outcry in terms of what happened in the summer of 2018 now, but it doesn't. The government didn't really follow up with. Now we've passed the law. Are we going to stand by it and make sure patients can actually understand that it exists and can access the medicine? So that's kind of how I would measure progress in the next 5-10 years.
Very well said, Nick, especially in regards to Germany and the difference there in terms of doctors prescribing. Of course, all doctors, as stated, can actually prescribe in Germany without issue. There's also actually a legal requirement for COAs and the exact testing methodology of cannabis to be made available to medical professionals out there and patients as well who request it, which is a big difference from our market. And earlier in the conversation as well, Sonny brought up the Australian market, which currently has over 300,000 patients. There, just like in Germany, part of the reason the market is so large, even though they legalized just before we did, is simply down to the fact that a general GP can prescribe, and it really does make all the difference. Professor Nutt.
You're on mute.
From
You're
my
on
side
mute,
here, I can only ask you to unmute, Doctor.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Professor Nutt.
Yeah, so I definitely endorse the idea that we get GPs allowed to prescribe, because most of the conditions that medical cannabis is good for are largely seen in primary care. But there are a couple of other things. I'm going back to the question of what can other people in the health service do. And the first thing is you can raise the issue of medical cannabis when you're in any kind of patient review meeting where the patients have problems which medical cannabis might alleviate. And if you go onto the Drug Science website, you'll see there are probably, as I think I mentioned already, about 10 publications, maybe more now, that cover the indications, give you the evidence, and just keep challenging people who won't have another thought perhaps, or are resistant to the idea. Challenge them and show them the evidence. And I want to say there's a couple of areas where it's clearly incontrovertible. There's childhood epilepsy, which we've heard about already. I mean, every child with epilepsy who hasn't responded to a current anti-epileptic drug should, I think, ethically, morally, principally, be given a trial of medical cannabis. And then, of course, we've got two other interesting papers. One hasn't come out yet, which is on the cost effectiveness of medical cannabis. That's being finalized. That's a very complicated paper to write because there are so many indications. But then the other one is the paper on our recent paper looking in T21 about how in 1,000 people using medical cannabis for pain, a significant 40% of them were able to stop using opiate painkillers. Now, that's an amazing achievement. That's not there's no intention, there's no telling them to stop using. They just choose not to because they don't work. Now, there are huge health implications for that. So spreading the word about the significant benefits of medical cannabis can be done by anyone in any situation where you're talking about a medical problem which cannabis can help.
Thanks for that, Professor Nutt. In a moment, we're going to pass over to Kieran, or God in the Grass, who's going to be hosting a section and asking several questions to guests.
Yeah, Ralph.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I just wanted to butt in before we do hand over. I just had a question that I just wanted to ask, if that's all right, because we've got I noticed that here it's a vape shop that is in my local area, and I was going to tie into the question about the awareness with medical cannabis, and basically it was we basically need to normalise medical cannabis, I feel, or just normalise cannabis, the smell, everything. You know, the more of us that do it, the more patients that they are, the better. And we, you know, if we can get different shops and cafes interested in letting patients in to vape the medicine, we know that they're legally allowed to. People are just frightened. I think this is the kind of way for awareness, you know. Let's get the smell normalized, because I for one, I'm sick to death of having to hide it. And we've got I think it's a vape shop in I think they're there 44751. They're in Hindley in Wigan, and they are wanting to actually set up a vape cafe to help patients, which is fantastic. But how do actually they're there now? Hello. How do they actually go about that? And, you know, what kind of support is there out there for companies that want to do that? Pierre, you've got your hand up.
Just to know, Pierre's got his hand
Yeah,
up from a moment ago.
Yeah, no, I can cover both. So just a general comment about what
You've muted yourself, Pierre.
Right, by accident. Sorry, sorry. Just start with a general comment about following up on David and Sonny and Nick's comments. What you see from that is how incredibly complex the issue is. There is not one single button that you can push where you can say, oh, let's do that, and then it's going to change. Because the reality is indeed, the NHS doesn't have money. Companies generally are not making money. Why are they not making money? They're not making money because in 2018, everybody expected to be a queue around the corner for patients, and there wasn't a queue. So people invested heavily in stuff that didn't really materialize. So the only thing I would say, therefore, is we need to agree on one or two massive things that we want to push forward and focus on those and do that. And whether that's raising awareness by pushing the boundaries a little bit, yeah, I mean, you're right. You can't advertise, but why don't we just all do it? And make the argument about why are we doing this? And I've had the conversation with the MHRA. We can't promote. So there's a legal change. We can't tell anybody. How ridiculous is that? And they agree. And they say, well, we agree, but we're not the police. We're just the police. We don't make the rules. So if we focus on one thing, whether it's raising awareness and just all work together to do that, in this country, as in many other countries, politicians only change things if they have to. So make them have to. That's the one thing I would say. On the vape lounges bit, and Alex can comment on that, we've been working with quite a few vape lounges, and I think some of the other clinics have been doing it too. You can put posters up, we can put referral programs in place. We can, again, it's about raising awareness, and we're more than happy to chat with anybody who is putting together a vape lounge for what we can do to support that and where we can step in.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Pierre. Is Councillor Andrew Walters has got his hand up.
Yeah, hi, thanks very much. It's always a pleasure to be here with Professor Nutt. He was my inspiration to get into this particular field. And he's probably the only person who's got a full bookshelf I've got a full bookshelf of his books just dedicated to him. So, and I don't say that about many people. Obviously, we've got a catch-22 here, because whilst the country is generally conservative with a small c, socially conservative with these issues, and cannabis is still considered to be fringy, nichey, non-mainstream, and therefore the government is not interested in doing anything to particularly change that, other than what they had to do, which they did during with kids coming in, and they had no choice but to change the licensing. But really, we need to, and again, until the law changes, the stigma won't go. And until the stigma doesn't go, the law won't go. So I know there's been a lot of advocacy in national government to change things. But I think, in addition to, not instead of, we need to, and again, I think Sarah said this earlier, as did Pierre, we need to work on local advocacy. So it could be local, not necessarily vape shops, local pubs, local restaurants, and so on, that have been that are aware of the Equality Act and aware of their requirements to allow disabled people to be treated as much as possible as well as anyone else. And the more normalized it becomes for somebody to be able to walk into a public place and take the medication, the less it takes, it grabs people's eyes and people stare and say, what on earth is he doing? You know, and making a fuss, and it becomes, you know, it shouldn't have to become a media event every single time. So, and this works grassroots. Anyone can do this, and everyone can do this by speaking to places that they publicly frequent, whether it's pubs, restaurants, places of employment, places of leisure, recreation. Explaining, I am a patient, this is what I need to do in order not to be in pain, have epileptic attacks, or whatever else they're taking the medication for. And therefore, can you please ensure I've got a safe space to do so? But I'm working on it in local government. There's some links in the chat if anyone hasn't heard what's going on, and that's going quite well, although I'm up against the brick wall with public health and some which seem to think that unlicensed medications are somewhat less legal from a patient session point of view than licensed medications. We're looking into getting a Casey opinion just to tell them that it's nonsense. But this can be and should be repeated across the country. It doesn't need very much because every council is different. Every council has scrutiny committees, and people can get involved. It's far easier than trying to get involved in national government, MHRA, and the Home Office. And of course, that is important as well, but that's more difficult. If we can do the grassroots and to get rid of the stigma so it becomes a normalized, then the advocacy in national government will be far easier because they don't need to do something which is politically sensitive. You know, even my local council, which is very much a left-wing socialist Labour council, they've still, their statistics show that they've got more Daily Mail readers than Guardian readers, despite being a Labour council, and therefore they've got to be careful not to offend the Conservatives with a small c, despite voting Labour. So we need to just change that. So we're no longer having that basic stigma, and people, it will no longer be a thing that people are going to notice. So that's how. So my question is, what further can be done on the grassroots level? Whether it's you know, rather than having specific lists of this place allows, this place doesn't allow, or having a sticker in the window similar to say disability awareness as it was before it became required in legislation. You know, we are green, whatever it happens to be, and making it such that is normal. So we've got to normalize, get rid of the stigma, and then the law will follow. That's my question-ish. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I was just going to jump in quick because I know I need to hand over to Kieran shortly, but that's what we've been trying to do with the MCPA. We've gathered a lot of patients together. We're basically just trying to raise awareness, in any way that we can. But it's difficult because my hands are even tied. I got an email from the MHRA to take down stuff off the MCPA website, and this is just providing information to patients, a basic, how much it costs and things like that. So now, I'm wondering what I'm allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. But in my kind of thing it's like, let's do it until we're told not to, But I'll hand over to Kieran now because I've been waffling on for ages. So Kieran, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to say,
Kieran, just before you start quickly, Sonny, I know you've got your webcam off and you're gonna have to leave shortly. We did have, I think, 2 more questions to take them before you have to shoot. Yeah, okay. So I'll ask the less controversial question first, because there is a loaded one coming. What are your views on driving and the legality of it? How do you feel about patients medicating and then driving as they might have to?
Sorry, was that a question about driving?
Yes, sorry. What are your views on driving and the legality of it? That's how it's worded. I think the question is in regards to impairment.
I think the Department of Transport rules are quite fair, aren't they? They say that it should be treated the same as any other medication. You shouldn't drive if you're impaired. And I think it's the implementation of that, and particularly how it's implemented in places like Scotland and Wales, Northern Ireland, for example, that becomes a problem. So I think it's fair. I think it should be treated the same as any other drug. I think that where the problem arises is where the police officers haven't had training, and there's been a couple of people that have gone to court where this has been disputed, and the police have said, well, this is medical cannabis doesn't exist, and I know there are certain. I think Guy Coxwell in particular, I've spoken to him recently because he's been involved in a few of these cases, and it's sort of shocking for me because you would have expected courts to be up to date with the law, but they're not. So to summarise, I think the Department of Transport rules are there. I think it's a question of the police and the courts being aware of those rules.
Yeah, fair remarks made. It seems like another issue of education. The other question, which goes both to you, Sonny.
Sorry, Ralph. The Professor Nutt's got his hand up. Sorry.
Apologies.
Yeah, I mean, I think the government, though, Theresa May set the detection level in plasma and in saliva for cannabis deliberately to try to deter people using it. It's set way below a level that would actually impair you. So, but that's a slightly different question I'm answering to the one about people who've got medical cannabis. So absolutely correct that medical, if you're taking medical cannabis and you're impaired, you shouldn't drive. If you're not, you're allowed to drive. Just carry a prescription. In terms of recreational cannabis, there's clearly a deterrent in the current legislation, which I think is actually immoral, but going to be hard to change.
It's worth noting that limits are set so low right now that as a patient who might consume 20 grams a month, you cannot consume for several days and still test over this threshold, which is absolutely outrageous. Of course, you're not impaired by that point.
I was just going to jump in and just say that I'm still waiting for a bit of clarification on the driving side of things. That I'm waiting for information from the DVLA. I had to submit a blood test and a urine test. And I went there and saw the DVLA doctor and said, I'm a medical cannabis user. I medicated that morning because I wanted it, to be accurate. And it's been about 5 weeks or so now. I spoke to the DVLA last week and they didn't mention cannabis at all. They just said they're waiting on some other conditions. So I'm hoping if I get my license back this week, that's kind of confirmation that you can drive on medical cannabis because it was in my blood and it's in my urine. So I'll let everyone know about that hopefully this week. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for you, Sarah. So the last question for Dr. Sonny, and I guess this goes out to the floor as well. When seeds are found in cannabis, are they classed as foreign matter or are they allowed under European Pharmacopoeia? There's been some debates lately with patients getting medication with seeds in it, feeling like it should be refunded or exchanged or handled in some way by the pharmacy, but they're being rejected, being told that it's not foreign matter. To my own understanding, there's a 2% weight allowance given to what's deemed foreign matter. So the question in hand is really whether seeds are considered foreign matter or not.
I can jump in. So
yeah, go for it, Nick.
Yeah, so I actually think that might be a question for a QA, because it would depend on how foreign matter is defined in their SOPs. In GMP manufacturing sites that I've run in the past, a seed would not be deemed as foreign matter because it's part of the plant raw material. However, the presence of seeds would still, in the way that me and my former teams drafted our specifications for the product, would still breach the specifications, because there's a line that we always include about the description of how they look. So there's a visual appearance check as well. And in that, where we draft it, is it says it's intended to have no twigs, no seeds. And there's one other item that we mentioned as well. So I don't actually believe, and I've never categorized seeds as foreign matter, but the presence of seeds, and specifically the requirement for there not to be any seeds, is actually captured elsewhere in the product specification with suppliers. So if there are seeds that do show up, then that is a conversation with the supplier, because they're not supposed to be there.
Can I ask a question right off the back of that, Nick? In the situation where a patient has received an inordinate amount of seeds in their medication, how would this be treated at Dispensary Green? You've just mentioned that you would go back to suppliers. Would the patient potentially be refunded if an issue was found?
Yeah, so the patient, only speaking in our case, of course, the patient should absolutely get in touch with us and send us a photo and notify us of the batch number on the label. We then raise that with the supplier for them to do an investigation. And of course, if that's found to be accurate, then yes, there's a conversation about a refund for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you. And right, finally, passing things over to Kieran nearly at the end of the first hour. Kieran's going to be asking the next series of questions.
Sorry to keep butting in.
Sarah.
But sorry, Professor Nutt has to leave at 7. So if anybody has any kind of questions or anything for him, do it quickly. And if you have anything that you'd like to say, get it out quickly. But you've got 5 minutes.
Question or two in the chat for Professor Nutt, I believe. Kieran, have you been watching?
Yeah.
Greg,
Yeah, no, I'm here. This is the thing.
I'm going to unmute you. Sorry.
Am I not unmuted?
Greg had a question. He's just said, why can't cannabis be patented?
Cannabis derivatives can be patented, but it's not based on the genetics themselves. It's normally based on something like the extraction process that's utilized. So specific genetics of cannabis cannot be patented, but certain derivative products can be made where there is a process which can be called proprietary and can be trademarked. The example of this would be something like Epidiolex or something like that, where there are certain patented processes surrounding it.
Have you got an answer for that, Professor? Not.
The reality is, actually, I suppose we should ask the company reps here, but the reality is companies aren't going to do that because the actual process of proving you've got the something that is pure and can be produced in a very reliable way is almost impossible. There's no, in the British Pharmacopoeia, or at least in improved medicines that have gone through the CSM, there is not a single herbal product that's ever been approved by the Committee on Safety of Medicines or the MHRA. Unlike Germany, where I think they have about 23, I think it's impossible in Britain to patent anything that comes from plants. And I think the companies just realize that. And even when you were able, if you could take the extracts like Epidiolex or like Sativex, the costs of taking those products through clinical trials to get them approved almost destroyed GW. And in the end, NICE wouldn't ratify them anyway because the cost was too expensive. So most companies realize it's pointless.
It costs multi-million investments to go through stage 4 clinical trials that are required to license the drug. And it really is that simple. That's why we're never going to see any of the flower prescribed today ever licensed correctly, just because it's cost prohibitive for any individual medication. And unfortunately, cannabis is, each product within the cannabis spectrum is classed as an individual medication, and one product's performance can't influence another's clinical acceptance. So yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in and just say, because obviously I know you've got to go shortly, Professor Nutt, that I just wanted to echo what was us saying in the chat, that thank you, for helping change our lives for the better. Because with Project 21, I know it helped me. I would have been paying £1,000 a month if it wasn't for Project 21. So thank you very much. You saved my life, more or less. Without Project 21 and medicinal cannabis laws being changed, so many of us would be unwell, in pain or suffering, and I personally would be unemployed. And that's somebody in the chat saying that. So thank you very much for everything that you do for us. And thank you for coming.
Well, it's been really great. I'm happy to do it again sometime, all right?
Fantastic, thank
Very
you.
interesting evening. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
I was going to ask Professor Nutt, if you're still with us, we might have a question from Andy McCabe here.
Go on then, since he's got the book in his hand.
There we go. One last question.
Oh, hello. Yeah, I'll preface it with a big thank you, but I'll keep it short. When I spoke to Drug Science a couple of years ago, they said that there was plans to introduce a more subsidised system for those that were means testing, and possibly a fully subsidised system. Yeah. Is that something that looks like it's going to be realised, or is that due to financial things not unlikely?
To be honest, it's proving very difficult even to sustain 2021 because so many companies are going into a state of decompensation. So unfortunately, yeah, things are getting worse rather than better. I'm sorry about that.
Well, thank you. It's just helpful to know, so thank you.
We did, I know it's the very last one. We had one last question from Kieran, and he has been waiting for ages. So if you've got chance, this is the last one, and then you can go.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I've had a question written down for a while. I'm desperate to ask it. I will preface this with I really appreciate you coming. I really appreciate the book. I picked it up at the patients conference. I read through it last week, and it's brilliant. But I just wanted to ask something that's very youth specific. But I just wanted to sort of, I'll put it into context really quick. So in your book, Cannabis Seen Through the Smoke, you state that CanCard acts as proof that you have one of the conditions for which medical cannabis is a treatment. So a CanCard appeared to have no medical license to hold a patient's prescription or authority to clinically assess medical documentation. So patients are understandably concerned over evidence of officers mistaking NPCC briefings about CanCard to mean that a CanCard would supersede a patient's valid prescription, and the NPCC has now clarified to officers that CanCard provides no authority to possess cannabis. But this doesn't undo the damage done to police understanding of the law surrounding cannabis. So my question, given all this, do you think CanCard should bear any responsibility for jeopardizing legal patient safety and capitalizing on prescription confusion, falsely stating that they are a medical ID card recognized by the police?
Well, no, I think they were trying to. I don't think that's fair. I think they were definitely trying to help patients, giving them something that which I think at the time they thought the police would take account of, and I think they probably have in many cases. It's just that the police, as you've just heard, are quite arbitrary. Some are very ignorant, some are not, and some are just pernicious. So no, I think they tried to do their best at a time when there really wasn't anything else. But can I just thank you about the book, and I'll just say I've just sent 10 copies of the book off to the House of Lords to see if we can spread the word through decision makers there, because obviously there seems to be quite a lot of enthusiasm in the Lords for innovation after the meeting I was at recently and the other ones we've had. So fingers crossed they'll get read, and maybe they'll start helping us change things. But again, thanks everyone. I've got to go to another
Thank you
very much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your time tonight, Professor.
Bye.
Take care, Professor.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to pass things over to Kieran in a minute, who's going to be asking several questions. For now, Nick has his hand up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make one more comment about a question around patents and IP protection. So there's a few comments there that I kind of wanted to tie all together. On the question about whether or not cannabis can or cannot be patented, so you can't patent anything that occurs naturally in the wild. In North America, there's a legislation called Plant Breeders' Rights, PBR. And there's an equivalent version in Europe as well. I just don't know if that's the actual term. Plant Breeders' Rights does afford the breeder a certain level of protection on what they have created being replicated by a competitor in the marketplace. But the threshold for proving that they created it is very high. You basically have to demonstrate not only that you bred it, but that it also can occur naturally in the wild. So it is very difficult to attain PBR, Plant Breeders' Rights, that kind of protection if you are a breeder or a grower. To your point, Ralph, you can patent or wrap IP protection around a manufacturing process like GW Pharma did, and for which they then pushed through the 3 stages of clinical trials required to commercialize a product, which then made them a very attractive acquisition target for Jazz Pharma, who now owns the company. But in terms of flower, as we think of it, it's almost impossible to prove that threshold. The other thing, and the reason flower itself doesn't go into clinical trials, is because of the standardization. So when you go through a clinical trial, as you mentioned, it's multi-million-dollar studies that need to be undertaken and many years of work. I mean, GW Pharma got their license in the mid-90s, and they only started getting FDA approval 5 years ago for Epidiolex and Sativex. So you need to really be sure that there's going to be a return on your investment if you're a big pharma company. And the issue is, to be sure of that, the product needs to be standardized. It needs to be almost identical every single time. Now, of course, in cannabis, we do have Pharmacopoeia and GMP standards, which require, a certain variance of permissibility, but it's not close to what is required in a clinical study, and to get an actual drug monograph out the other side. And so That's where cannabis has always struggled. When the big Canadian producers were trying to push their products through clinical studies, they realized they just didn't really produce the material in a homogeneous enough fashion to justify continuing to invest in it.
That was great insight there. Thank you, Nick. So I'm going to pass things over to Kieran now. He's going to ask the next series of questions of our guests, and we'll go on from there.
Okay, doc. So the next question that is just one of our standards questions. So we've got 2 standard questions left, and then a couple more that have just been last minute ones, and then I'm sure we can open it up if we've got time. So the next one for our guests is, what do you feel that the industry as a whole, clinics, pharmacies, or other affiliated organizations, can do to support patients in coping with the added financial burden that comes from using medical cannabis? While there are access schemes to reduce the cost of clinic appointments and some medications, is there anything more you feel you could or should, anything more that you feel could or should be done? For example, there is very little support currently available for patients struggling to access vaporizer devices due to their cost. Sorry, it's quite a long one, but if anybody wants to take that up, pop your hands up now, and hopefully we can get you unmuted. Anyone at all? No?
You're going to have to start bullying people here, and you have to start pointing the finger at people and saying, you answer this, please.
Clinics,
What
pharmacies,
company's going to
lawyers-
start funding vaporizers for patients that can't afford to drop 100 quid on a vaporizer?
You're making the question worse there, Sarah.
There you
Now
go.
no one's going to respond.
The problem is we've lost half our attendees now. We've just got Pierre and Karen, I think, left.
Oh, and then, well, yeah, well, we've definitely got some interesting faces that I can see. I mean, I
We're also
appreciate everyone
expecting a
that's popped
special
up.
guest in
Yeah,
10 to 20 minutes
shortly.
or so.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I say, it's open to the floor. We'll try and, I think what we'll do is if Karen or Pierre or any guests that are still here pop their hands up, then we'll try and take it from them first. But if you want to open it up, we can do. If not, we'll move on to the next question.
But also, if you're struggling with the questions, Kieran, we could just open it up to the floor if you want. That's not a problem.
Yeah. That's fine too. I'm just saying, if, like I say, Pierre, if you want to go ahead, we can unmute you.
Yeah, more than happy to. You know, I kind of don't hold back. No, I mean, David Nutt was saying earlier, a lot of companies are financially struggling. And that is the case. If you look internationally, whether it's Aurora or Canopy or whatever, these companies have borrowed $6-7 billion, and there is no sign of them at any point in time going into profit. They all build empires based on expectations of what was going to happen, whether it's US market going legal, whether it's Germany going legal, UK market growing a lot faster. So you know, I talk about backgrounds. I have a pharmaceutical industry background. The one thing that I learned in pharmaceutical industry is whatever you do, it takes a lot longer than you want it to do and that you like it to take. That's the same thing with what we see now in the UK with whether you change regulations or you want uptake or you want to increase awareness. It's not easy. Healthcare systems, without making it too complicated, healthcare systems are insurance-based systems. People pay, whether it's in the US or here, people pay an insurance premium, and for that insurance premium, you get a certain service. All of these things suffer from demand bigger than supply, whether it's wait lists in the NHS or anywhere else. So you're looking at a system that is growing a lot slower than everybody expected it to grow. And I think I've said it before, if we get to 50,000 patients, yeah, we can make clinics free. I don't think that'd be a problem if you start doing that. And it goes back to one of the earlier questions. If we get to 100,000 patients in the UK, we can make things a lot cheaper. We can make a lot of things cheaper. We can bring in service products like vaporizers and all of these things because it will allow us to do that. At the moment, the whole industry is basically looking at a just breaking even or making a loss. And in that, it becomes a very brave decision to do anything that even further increases your losses. Companies just don't have the money to do that. So I understand the question, but it's a difficult one to do. £5 per gram for flour is probably the lowest that we can go. Yeah, we can go 450, but I can also see that if we do 450, a lot of people are going to comment that the product that they get is not very good, because that's what you get for 450. It's not going to be very good. So where are we in that balance? We try to make things as cheap as possible, but we also still need to find a way to make it sustainable. That's the difficulty.
I think your biggest point there, Pierre, is the economy of scale. I mean, we're seeing this kind of rocket upwards in terms of patient adoption in recent months, to the point that where I'm hopeful by the end of next year we might see 100,000 patients. That level of patients will allow far more competitive rates to be given to patients themselves, simply based on the overheads that producers have. There's set costs for every batch that needs to be tested. That means that it takes a large proportion of the input cost for the medication than would be required when there's a much larger volume of patients. Elliot, you've got your hand up. I'm assuming you might have a question for Pierre here.
Yeah, yeah, thanks guys. It's been a really good talk so far. So you say like £5 a gram, Pierre, is where like you can go. So why aren't we seeing that with other companies other than Tilray? I mean, they've done it.
Yeah, well, Tilray done it after we pressured them into doing it. You don't want to hear that. I mean, that was 6 months discussion. And what you then get, so I'm going to do another one in a month or two. That is 550 or something like that. But the problem also on the grower side is they grow stuff in batches, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 kilos. If I say I want to be able to sell it to patients for £5, they say, okay, so for us to afford that, you need to buy 200 kilos or 50 kilos a month for me to do that. So we get to what they call minimum order quantities. And a lot of us can't commit to minimum order quantities simply because there are not enough patients for it. What you've seen with Tilray, Tilray goes out of stock quite a lot because they struggle with adapting to increased demand, because it's not like you flip the switch and 2 weeks later you have 20 kilos extra on board. It takes 2-3 months before you get to a level where you get higher. And the other thing, in a dynamic and growing market in the UK at the moment, people switch a lot between strains. So for me to say I'm going to buy 500 kilos of Master Kush 25, till they then say, well, if you don't buy those 500 kilos, you still need to pay for them, which makes it a little bit more difficult for me. So that's a dynamic that we need to kind of play around with.
So do you think there needs to be more cooperation between the growers and like people like yourselves, and maybe more so the growers? They need to be how do you say, like more susceptible to it's a smaller market. It's not Canada, it's not, and even Canada's not a big market as well, it is, but
I'll give you an example. I'm talking to a company in Portugal. Everybody in this group, or people in this group, asked me about an ice cream cake, and got one. But they can sell it to Australia in the whole batch of 300 kilos. They can sell to Australia in one go, and they can sell it to Australia in one go for a lot more than I can pay them to get it here.
Right.
They invested 15 million in putting together a facility. They're looking at the same problems that everybody else is looking at. I can sell it for 5 there, or I can sell it for 3 there. One of the reasons why you see a lot of companies coming to the UK at the moment is that the German market is at the moment in a complete price spiral downwards.
Okay.
A year ago, we would sell, or you could sell, flour to a pharmacist in Germany for €5, and then the pharmacy would sell it to the patient or get it reimbursed from the insurance company for €10. That's a nice margin. Everybody wanted to do that. Currently, I struggle selling product to a German pharmacy for more than €3. That's actually less than the prices are here, which is why you see a lot of companies suddenly going, oh, let's forget about Germany. We're going to try and get into the UK market. And it becomes bigger and bigger, but not necessarily more affordable.
Do you think, sorry, I'm going to add another question here. Do you think that's damaging? Like, so the fact that they're going to some sort of recreational kind of model, and now it's medical still, yes, but it will be some sort of kind of, but that's what they're pivoting to.
I think
like it did with
I think what you see as I'm a big stickler on this. We all ultimately want cannabis in some form reimbursed on the NHS, or whether it's insurance companies stepping in and doing it. Insurance companies are not going to do that unless they have some form of evidence that reimbursing cannabis saves them money versus the stuff that they're doing now.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is collect data. What you see in every market where cannabis was legalized, or the rules were softer for a legal rec market after the medical market basically crushed.
Yep.
Canadian medical market is not growing. German medical market, a lot of people are putting money on recreational market, not really growing at the moment. So there is a threat if you do that you never get those data. Having said that, we also probably shouldn't look too easily at, if you look at follow the German stuff, even legalizing it doesn't mean that you can buy it on every corner in the street. I mean, we're talking Germany. Germany is the country that invents rules, and they invent ways of doing it in a certain process. So it's still going to be distributed through pharmacies. You will still need to have some kind of evidence around it, and that's not necessarily going to make it cheaper. So I think the question is, what are we actually looking at? Do we want legalization because we think that makes it cheaper? I don't necessarily think it will. Do we want legalization because it gives more access? It might, but then I think there are other ways to creating more access, like we discussed earlier. Just go and advertise, get the clinics to be a little bit more risk-seeking. And you know what? Let the MHRA come and tell us off. I'd rather have them tell us off than not do anything at all. If we can make the case that we believe in this, then we should stick to that. The other part, and I can ramp on for hours like that, but I won't. The other part that we should look at is, what are we comparing? If we say opioid use has come down, from an NHS perspective, a month fentanyl is a lot less expensive than a month medical cannabis.
Well,
as
yeah,
a prescription.
that's line, isn't it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm sitting on the NHS pharmacy, if I'm sitting there, David Nutt talked about ICS and all of that, and Sonny talked about the ICSs and everything else. The person who run these places, the people who run these places, are the pharmacy budget holders. They don't look at what the benefit is about whether you're feeling happier, yes or no. You're more happy with the current medication than your previous one. They just look at what it does cost.
Yep.
And a month of fentanyl and a month of opioids, a month of OxyContin are Ramsch prices. So that's cheaper than doing cannabis. So that's a conversation that we really need to get behind. It's not about the cost of the medicine. It's about a lot of other things. But we can do a symposium on that.
a lot of in-depth remarks there, Pierre. I think the most important thing is the fact that we're often outbid as a medical cannabis market by other medical cannabis markets. If a producer in a particular EU country has a new batch of flower available, they will turn to the market that's willing to pay the most and can secure the highest demand. You know, as Pierre was saying earlier, minimum order quantities are everything in this industry. And, you know, I do see some things behind the scenes, and the economy of scale is quite insane to the point where you might see the cost, I don't know, maybe even half if you take double the volume. The incentivization on the producer side is huge because they obviously want to shift as much product as possible. Anyway, I won't waffle on. Passing things back to Kieran.
So I'll just say, because it is about 7:20 now, what we usually do is we allow for our guests to come for an hour, try and get through as many questions as we can. There is about 3 left, but it's only fair to our guests if they want to leave after the first hour that they're free to do so. I think some already have. If you guys want to stay, that's great. We really appreciate it. So what I can do is I can kind of quick fire the last 3, and then if you want to pick any of them up, and then we can move it to the floor if anybody else has any questions. And then that way we've been fair to the people that have put theirs in, you know, the weeks prior. So like I say, Karen, Pierre, if there's anyone else, this now is your chance to leave. If not, I'll ask these questions in kind of quick fire succession.
No, I'm here. No worry.
Okie doke. So we've got 3. So how do you feel about patients being able to grow their own medication? Do you support grow your own model, and how do you think this could be achieved? Number 2, I'm not sure. I don't know much about this one or if it will apply, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you see much change on the horizon with people being involved, such as Honourable Jackie Smith and the likely spring election next year? As it's question 3, as we see legal medical cannabis grow in the UK, how do businesses adapt for patients? I know that some people are wanting vape lounges. How do companies get involved in creating these spaces legally and safely? I know most are worried about legality. So 3 questions there. I don't know if there's something you can answer. If there's anything you feel you can answer, I'll open it up to either Karen, Pierre, anyone else.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered the vape lounge one, didn't we?
I was about to say that, Sarah. And for the second question there, just to make clear, that was asking about politicians' involvement in the medical cannabis space, and given Jackie Smith's previous involvement in government.
No, that's fine. If they don't apply, that's no problem. If anyone wants to start raising their hands, if you've got any questions for our guests that are very kind to stay, then now's your chance.
What was the first one again, Kieran? Sorry, I was listening to your second and third.
How do you feel about patients being able to grow their own medication? Do you support a grow your own model, and how do you think this could be achieved?
I think Pierre's answer is going to be no here, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
no, buy it from me.
I think the problem goes back to what I was saying earlier. If we healthcare is a socialist system, we pay and we everybody benefits from it, regardless of what you do and what risk. If you go horse riding or skiing or playing football or you sit on your sofa, everybody pays the same, and we get the same service back from it. If we ever want cannabis on that system, we need to get data, or whether it's real world evidence or anything else. If people start, and the result of that, if it gets on the system, it becomes for free because it's part of the system. If you do grow your own, not everybody can grow your own or his own or her own. You will still have a 2-tier system where some people can afford it and a lot of people can't afford it. And I think that's ultimately not where we want to be. So I'm much more into find ways to increase awareness, find ways to bump up patient numbers. If we bump up patient numbers, we already have. Ralph, how many strains in the UK? 80 or something like that? How many different
134, something
like
that.
Exactly. So how many different ones do we want? When I say to my German friends that we already have 130 strains, they have the same number for 20 times as many patients. So we don't need more different products. We need more patients so we can bring prices down and make it more affordable. And then all the other discussions go away by themselves.
I was going to butt in just for the grow your own bit, because I always butt in at the same point. But like, I'm a medical patient now. I used to grow my own illegally because, you know, I wanted my own medication, but I then became too ill to actually look after my plants. I was too ill to pick up the water buckets, too ill to look after them to a standard that would give me the medication I needed, low stress training and things like that. I just was too ill. And then trimming and all that, trim gel would kill me now. So I had to go legal. I need my medication delivered, ready to vape. You know, I'm not even well enough some days to put it in jars anymore, you know, so I just keep it in its pots, keep it in the thing, and it needs to be ready to go. So I know there's a lot of people possibly like me, you know, that just wouldn't even be able to look after one plant, you know. So I know that wouldn't be feasible for me because I've done it in the past.
Our best estimate is that 10 to 15% of all current legal medical cannabis patients are actually interested in growing their own. I mean, and those that are interested in growing their own, myself included, are probably the most vocal and critical patients too, who will never be happy with the medical industry. And I guess my point I was making there, Pierre, is it's worth considering as well the unloading of some patients to the grow your own side of the industry if it was ever allowed. Because the way I see that medical cannabis growing ever being allowed in the UK is while still having to verify a clinical needs to grow cannabis, there would still be the requirement of clinical services. So if you were to grow your own, you probably still have to use a clinic over here, as I see it. Do you think that that could ever be compatible here, given that there is a kind of hybrid grow your own model in markets like Canada and Malta as well?
Yeah, I mean, it goes a little bit to what we were saying earlier. The UK healthcare system is so completely differently organized than the US or Canada or any other country. I've written a piece. I'm not even sure if I actually published it, for a system to do what we would like it to do. We would need to move to the dispensary model and the Israeli or Canadian model where you get a license, or actually US or Israeli model where you get a license and you can go to the pharmacy, whatever, and decide which product you use. All of that also has massive downsides because it then becomes very difficult for us, other than to make sure that we have the cheapest and the best products in the market for people to choose our brands. So what you will see, and you'll see it in the US, the companies go broke like there is no tomorrow because they can't afford that model. So it's just super complex, and there's no one thing to move other than, in my view, just make sure that we get to 200,000 patients. And that will drive politicians to have to recognize that they need to make a change. It will drive prices down. It will drive a model in the NHS differently. It's everything only happens. I'm very much in the dialectic model. Things happen because you make it happen, not because you try and convince people with arguments. That just doesn't work.
Fair remarks there. Andy McCabe, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks again. Just a brief one, really. I see a lot of the products, especially some of the new ones, being like very high THC, like 25% and higher. Is there plans to bring out some lower THC models or even balanced? Because previously I've had some good experiences with, several years ago, some balanced flowers, but they seem really hard to come by, or good quality ones to come by.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there are a few. There's an 8899, the new Aurora Dikiposa is going to be 1010. It's pretty darn difficult to grow something that is 5.5. It's a lot easier to get a lot of THC in it than getting lower THC and more CBD in it. There are some people who are trying it, but it's very difficult. And then you get to that same conversation we had earlier. If you go to Australia, nobody wants a balanced flower. People want high THC. If you go to Canada or Germany, if you 30% THC in it, they want it tomorrow rather than today. So again, from a grower perspective, are you going to spend a lot of energy and time on trying to grow a balanced flower, or do you pick a genetic that has higher THC and higher terpenes? Having said that, I mean, I had a conversation with Alex a while ago. I think a year ago, if I would have launched a 30% sativa, people would have gone, nah, don't want that, can't do that. Then now you launch a 30% sativa, depending on the terpene profile, it's actually a very different conversation. So THC is not the be and end all of all of it. You'll see more lower strains in terms of anything between 18 and 22 come to the market, because that and terpenes is easier than 30% and terpenes. And the complaints that people have is it doesn't taste like anything, it doesn't smell like anything. I want more terpenes, less THC, more terpenes. So you'll see a change, but yeah, come back to the initial point, growing a 5.5 is incredibly difficult.
Just to build
I
on that, I
appreciate
mean,
that. Thank you for your time.
as I say, a 5.5 is incredibly hard to grow because of that 10% legal variance. You know, you've got 4.5 to 5.5% that you can hit, and then that's that. Otherwise, you're broken. The entire crop just can't go to market, or has to be registered differently, causing delays, etc. The other big point is the input cost is always the same for balanced and CBD strains. The cost of growing, the cost of cultivation, and even the cost that a pharmacy is likely going to have to purchase that. A patient then goes and looks at a product and they say, I can get 25% at £8 a gram, or I can get a 5.10, and the value proposition is just kind of lost on them. So unless we could see kind of cost proportionate pricing, which just isn't possible because of the input costs, I don't think we're ever going to see balanced strains become popular. And the last note I'll make here is that of all of the balanced strains that have been introduced so far, I'd say we've seen over 50% of them discontinued after the first batch because of low interest. So, yeah. And that was also directed towards a point that Greg made there in the chats, that it's another argument for grow your own, because, yeah, you can't really cater to all the niches when you're talking about the commercial side of the industry, because at the end of the day, people need to make money and they need a return on their investment. Elliot, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, with the terpenes, like, and you covered that as well, Ralph, with the delivery times and stuff. It's difficult. But yeah, where are they? Like with a lot of the stuff I've tried, I've only been a patient since September. But there's only a very few amount of strains that I've found which really have terpenes present. And if we're going towards a direction where people are looking for terpenes, and terpenes are one of those sort of parts of the plant that haven't been studied as much.
It's medical indicator, yeah.
Yeah, so where I mean, I'm struggling to find them. You have to put a Boveda pack in, and then, even then sometimes it's dead. And that's not pointing to anybody in this chat, by the way. I'm just saying that, but how do we better manage the terpene profile going forward?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Elliot, and it's the problem that a lot of patients are facing right now. By the time product arrives in patients' hands, they consider it dead, stale, devoid of terpenes, etc. A large part of it comes down to simply regulatory compliance. You know, when all flour has to be dried to under 10% moisture based on its weight, this means we get cautious companies not wanting to get their batch rejected, then drying down to 8, and then it goes through weeks. Absolutely weeks of getting transferred to the country, etc. So I'm actually going to cut off that question there and introduce Mr. Big Nasty, who's just joined us.
Greetings and salutations, everybody.
Yo, Big Nasty.
Hi.
All right.
British MC, author, rapper, singer, songwriter, comedian, television presenter, Big Nasty.
Let's go,
Someone's pulled up from Wikipedia.
Hey, you don't know about Transformer snacks? You know about Transformer snacks?
Ooh, Transformers are the best.
Come on, turn them into a motor.
Plus, they've been the best. Except for I swear they used to cost about 20p a pack.
Come on, inflation now, they're 50p, bro. Yeah, you get your wheels on. You're halfway down for a race car.
So, Big Nasty, Kieran just gave you a partial introduction there, who you are, what you do. I'm sure quite a few people on the call are familiar with you. What are you about to do for medical cannabis? You've had a flower that's launched recently, right?
Yeah, man. Powerful times ahead, people. Powerful times ahead. All right. Let me get that Transformer snack out of the way.
Hey, well, good. I jumped on you there the second you came on the call.
Come on, I gotta do this right. First and foremost, yeah, we got Miss Sarah, Suzanne Stork, Andy McCabe, Kieran, God in the grass. Jesus, don't gas me. Yeah, Kieran Gray. Yeah, you got the Grow Group. Yeah, I got, hold on, who's got my G at the bottom in the yellow hat?
Thomas.
How you doing, Tim? I can't see your name. Oh, sorry, Thomas Rose. Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, Lukeman Khalifa, Tiny Cannabis Club. Let's go, champ. Come on. Miss Emma, Chris Williamson, No Perception. Yeah, Kitchen Cannabis. Yeah. No, Ben, Matt G, James Long, Elliot Finden. Yeah, Kane's iPhone. Robin, Bobby, Patrick, Smiler, Richard, Marie Zolman, Wayne Cummings, BB, Safta, Tony Coys, Kez, Jordan Dixon, English, Rick. Now, wait, Rick. Let's go, champ. Chris, Pedro, Natalie Clegg. The Fox picture is sick. Uni Freak. Jesus, they just turned down for what? All right, cool. John, Mouth Dev, User, Default, Peter B, Greg the Holdy, Grant, flipping all this shitloads of be all day, but you get the drift. Greetings and
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
Pick up all the people in the house.
Andrew Waters, what? Shalom. Let's go, champ. All right, this is what's going on now, peeps, yeah? As you know, I'm probably one of the most famous black man in the country, celebrity known for smoking cannabis, yeah, and always been in the forefront of promoting cannabis, yeah, and the medical uses of it. I come from a Caribbean, Jamaican heritage, yeah, like my mum and grandma drink it from days, like, yeah, they've always drink it and they read the Bible. It's always been a natural part of our day in life, like the medicinal purposes of what people are just discovering now. I've been fortunate to grow up with it as a culture, as heritage. So I remember for a long period of time, my culture is only recently got like the respect as indigenous people for cannabis as our religious beliefs. So the persecution of using this plant has gone decades before us. Do you know what I mean? So first started touching with the 420s when the 420 events, loads of people joining up with us, obviously smoking, talking about the plant, medicinal purposes, how we're going to get it legalized, so forth. I then got fortunate, luckily enough, to start trying medical cannabis. Do you get what I mean? The light bulb what came off my head now when I got into this is like, there's two bridges. You got a recreational bridge and you got a medicinal bridge. Every medicinal doctor you know has taken an oath to study medicine and do everything what his teachers are prior told him to do. So for all these years, they've been told to stay away from this plant. Don't touch this plant. Don't look at this plant. It can smear your reputation. Yeah, you stay well away from this plant. Then all of a sudden, do you know what? You're allowed to use this plant. Now you're allowed to talk about this plant. Yeah, the poor doctors. How do doctors and medicinal people who's been told not to read this chapter of a book for over 20, 30 years because it could mess up their job and stuff, start advising us on the plant? They're left with Wikipedia, Google, some one-off uni kids who can give them some information. So that's the medical bridge, what you got right here, the obstacle we all need to overcome. Then you got the recreational bridge. People who's been making RSO for their parents or their children with epilepsy, Crohn's disease. Do you know what I mean? Self-medicating, unregulated, yeah? But they got more education and more knowledge because they've had to learn for themselves to do, yeah? And then obviously the true wizards of the plant have had to do all what they've done with this plant in total secrecy. It's the closest thing to being a Mason, yeah? The first rule of Fight Club, we don't talk about Fight Club. So if you've studied silence for 30 years, not to go to prison and lose everything, yeah, and provide medicine for your family, then all of a sudden they tell you you're allowed to pop your head out of the rabbit hole and we're now allowed to talk and communicate. Before we can even put plants in the ground, there's a mental off balance. One side has been told not to respect this side. This side has had the same intuition. So if the bridge can never be built, what happens to all the innocent bystanders who want product? You're stuck with educational people who know everything about medicine, but not this medicine. Then you know everyone who knows, then on this side of the bridge, you plant, but they're not qualified. So we're at a standstill. So more cars keep dropping into the middle. But then, hello, it's a gift. To be able to merge two bridges, I'm fortunate because of situation, because of my celebrity status and being able to be in different places and represent myself. I've managed to slowly start to form a bridge where people like Grow, Integro, Weperen, I've managed to sit in the room and have a general conversation and start the first seeds, because without communication, nothing can happen. I could have all the answers, and this is what a lot of people misunderstand with stuff, yeah? It doesn't mean because you got the answers that you're right. It's how the answers are displayed. Yeah, and sorry, Weperen, I got my words muddled up. But it's how information is displayed. Nobody likes the clever clock. Nobody likes the clever clocks, and nobody likes to feel stupid. So you could have all the informations in the world, but if you're talking down to people and trying to school people, instant mankind will just shut off. And now, most important thing, if you've got way more information than me, and you're more smarter than me, what is my biggest safety weapon to use? Silence. So this is when everything starts to shut down, because I can't make you know that you're cleverer than me and that I don't have the answers. So the best thing for me to do is to shut up and play Miss El Mysterio. So one thing it does, it lets me be able to fake it for a while, but the main problem will always still be there, like a messy bedroom. Until you go in there and clean it up and pick up the clothes in there, it's always going to be there. No matter how much you close the door and just forget about the room in the top, it's still there. So fortunately for me to be in the position where I'm in, who, as you can tell, I'm a frequent cannabis user for medicinal purposes. Oh, it's my finger of pain. That's my finger of pain. I'll do a finger video for you later. My top part of my finger fell off, yeah, due to certain circumstances. Mazzolina, yeah, Daddy Yankee without the gasolina, but flipping, boom. The nerve damage and stuff, I weren't digging the opioids and the tramadol and the pregabalin. Do you know what I mean? I didn't like the fact that most importantly, Viva la toilet. I like to poop. Do you get what I mean? And we all know when you start jumping on that opioid train, yeah, the days of a poop is very hard. Do you get what I mean? So, and obviously that causes problems in itself. So remember, everything is a business, yes. We understand that much. For any business to work, money has to be put in it and money has to be made, because everyone has children to feed. You get what I mean? Yeah, and everyone needs to do stuff without putting money in or having any thoughts of money. That's just unrealistic in itself. But what are you using the money for? That's my most important thing, because let's just say I was fortunate to do what I'm doing, and let's just say I've got 100 billion there. Yeah? What do you do? There is 100 billion there. But what can you do with this 100 billion? Can people now be getting cannabis normally on their prescription, no different how, like, I'm diabetic, so my prescription is free. Is there anyone else who's diabetic? Do you get what I mean? Because I'm diabetic, I get free prescription. But obviously I have to pay for my medical prescription. But these are the situations in hand. So what about the parent now who can't afford to pay through our way, so ends up in the black market? These are the steps where I'm trying to get to. And I know for a fact it can't all be done in one night. No way. But obviously with intentions to do good and taking baby steps to greatness. Remember, we all started crawling, and then man get to make some proper long leaps and start running. You get what I mean? and then we can hit the home run and just be keeping it like flipping Usain Bolt with long strains of running. So my thing is this: I've come to make sure when you spend your money and get your medical prescription, you're not going to be thinking about, I was better off just linking my brethren to send me a Cali pack. The product what I'm trying to put into this medical market, you can't tell the difference. And most importantly, I'm giving you something what is 10-10, yeah, and you know it's done from a place of love. So I like food, yeah, and as I just told you, I've got a minted lamb on the go. Fire, I mean, let me give you a butchers on my minted lamb. I've got to check
Don't make us
it.
jealous, man.
Sorry. Come on, man, I have to chef it down, blood. Let me show you what's going on.
You're here just to wind us all up, aren't you, over your lamb dinner?
Boy, you do that. You do that. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Let's go, champ. Yeah. And then man got the peas in the oven. Oh. Multitasking, sorry, peeps. Where was I?
You were getting bad Wi-Fi reception by the seams of things. Big nasty.
I think it's probably because you're moving.
Yeah.
You're back with us
Is that
now.
better?
Yeah, you're good.
Hold on. I think I pressed off what I shouldn't. Am I back on the normal page? Yes,
Yeah, you're all
I'm
good.
back. I'm
We
back.
can see you.
So, yeah, man, unfortunately, to be able to partner with the people I have, IPF, Grow Pharma, Vectra, Integro, yeah, man, like, do you know, remember, and what people have to understand as well, I'm a strong believer, yeah, of showing everything. So remember, what you have to understand, I'm not a puppet. This is not like a bunch of high pharmaceutical company and I'm just the pretty face in front. This is Big Nasty Medical. I'm the first of my kind to ever do it. To get what I mean? So I'm learning. So I want you guys to be a part of the journey of me getting things wrong to see me flourish and doing it superb. To get what I mean? Till I'm on the levels of the biggest companies what's out. That's the greatest thing of doing it from the bottom. I'm just a strong believer of letting people know that. A lot of people like to fake it and just want to show everything perfect. And no, I'm a real human being. I make mistakes. I'm learning. I come from a recreational market, coming into a medicinal, like prim and proper, even like protocols of doing stuff. It's all a learning process for me. I'm loving it though, because obviously I never thought, like, I've been trying to do this for nearly 4 years. My first, let me give you a funny thing here. 4 years ago, my main objective was to grow for Canacard. Does anyone know Carly? Yeah? 4
That's
years
blasphemy
ago.
around here, my friend.
Oh, can you not hear me?
Yeah, we can. Loud and
We're
clear.
not all massive fans of Cancard.
Okay, so I'm just giving you the experience of what's going on. So my first was like, I want to grow for Canacard. Yeah, I got told this will never be able to happen. Like, why? That regulation, this regulation, this thing, that thing. Nope. Boom, years gone. Thinking, all right, then let me try this route. Boom, went to Malawi. It's going to set up in Malawi. Whole thing about using an aqua system so the weed would then make tilapia fish what the villagers then could sell. Then trying to turn there like a bear dog hotel, like a cannabis resort. Nope, landmark, land issues. So, cool. Next situation, got a chance to meet the King of Morocco, control the hashish, but can't make hashish legal. It's not available yet. So I'm like flipping out. I'm getting close, but not fully connecting. Do you get what I mean? So splitting over there. Now, managed to meet IPS, introduced me to a man like Mr. Pierre, sat down, had a conversation, more than one conversation. Then I said, the first thing what we got to do is change the taste of what's going on. by like trying to deal with medicinal cannabis just by what it says on paper and not bringing in the terps involved into it. Yeah, it's bananas. Do you know what I mean? So my thing is like, raw. What's the point of me spending money in the medical market and I'm not being happy with the quality of product I'm getting? You get what I mean? The only way now, the more I started to understand, the people who's in charge of dealing with the product, you're looking at it as a paper instead of actually as a plant. Like the terpene matters. We all take medicines. Like, yes, cannabis is a medicine, like an antibiotic and like a painkiller, but the way how it's done is different. Like when it was a child, do you remember that banana antibiotic they gave you? Do you remember that yellow one when you was really ill and you had to go to the doctors and it's like, raw, bring out the big guns. You can have some banana milkshake. Do you remember that one? Same thing. It's a great medicine. But if they use that as licorice, or it had a pickled terpene profile, how well would that go down children's palates? By them making it a banana terpene and a banana taste, you get what I mean? Straight down. The smells and taste has effects on us. No different like how we eat with our eyes. You look at something to see if it's good. You smell it to see if you like it. The taste, all of these things come in combining as one. Do you know what I mean? So my thing, I just want to provide good product, clean product, and I just want you to be a part of the journey and watch me flourish. You get what I mean? And most importantly, think of Big Nasty Medical as Tesco's. Every little helps. You get what I mean? Like, there's no such thing as bad advice because I don't know everything. So I never came on this line to be super Mr. Morpheus or Professor Xavier. I came to pick you guys' brains. Remember, some of you have been medical patients longer than I have. You know what I mean? So with that, taking it all in board, hopefully I can do super great things and then, yeah, accelerate. Anyone want to ask me any questions, feel free.
So
No, really. Sorry,
I'm just going to sneak in first while I'm hosting it. I suppose that's the perk of the job. But I was just going to say, Big Nasty, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. I've been a legal patient for nearly 3 years now, or something like that. I tried your latest product on Friday, and yeah, it's blown me away because it's exactly what you said. I have come from the black market. I used to grow myself, so I know how important terpenes are and terps, and I'm every month I get disappointed with quality, and I'll open the pot and go nothing, hey, nothing. I'll just be like, and it has a big, I think my internet's unstable. I don't know. It has a big effect on me, the terpenes anyway. And I just wanted to say, I was so impressed when I opened the pot and actually smelt peaches and tasted peaches on my Soroma. Chef's kiss, blew me away. So I was worried at first. I was like, will this, blur the lines between recreational, medical? Will people laugh at us? Will the police pull me over in my car and go, Big Nasty weed, is this legal? But the thing is, for me, police don't care anyway. They don't acknowledge our medicine in boring plastic tubs with labels on. So we're at the point now, it's like, what does it matter? Let's break barriers. Let's, awareness, and let's just get it out there. Peaches, let's get the smell out there. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anyone else want to ask me a question?
Okay, off the back of that, that's a big question. How did you end up choosing Moroccan peaches? You've partnered with Hernande das Barrocas in Portugal, right?
Yeah. So what's happened now, yeah? Blood. Man went on the quest of quests, like Dungeons and Dragons, fam. Had to find the elixir of justice. So see me, yeah, I'm a sickhead, fam. Man brought man's personal batch and I said, raw. Man, me and Uncle Slim, yeah, must have tasted like flipping hell. Easily over 36 strains. Easily. Yeah. Tasters after tasters. Yeah. And Baracas, they're good people. You know what I mean? And they actually care about what they're putting out. This is another thing. Like, see, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, and it's a fine line. Yeah, and see with the way how medical cannabis is done there, like, because everything's judged by paper, man can get away with it not being, because the readings is 27% THC, blah 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 CBD. No one cares if it tastes like a pickle or a chocolate. It's like they've hit all the targets on paper. Miraculous though, they've got people in there who actually bun. Do you get what I mean? And this is a main thing. It's like, I would never, yeah, you wouldn't go to where you're not used to. Prime example, if you've only done your whole life opioids, yeah, and you've never tried medical cannabis, I wouldn't take your suggestion on a joint. If you don't smoke and you've never smoked ever, yeah, I'm not going to take your suggestion on a joint, am I? You've got no suggestions, you don't smoke. It's not in your field. And I think a lot of the people who have been in charge doing it right now, or vapes, yeah, they haven't really got that experience of tasting of tasting good stuff. Hence why some of the things what they're saying is so normal. They're going by the smell of the tub, like not actually tasting it. So when I smoked, I vaped the Moroccan.
We all make that mistake.
Come on, I vaped, yeah. I've vaped that product, yeah, for nearly a week at different times. So I do it with dry mouth, do it after I just had like a chewy extreme. You know about my mollies, my sour apple, yeah, the chewy extremes, super sour. No, your taste buds is mad, yeah. Tried it after food. So, because remember, it's all down to the palate and taste.
Palate cleanser.
You get what I mean? And I was like, raw. You know what? This one, yeah. The man from Del Monte says yes, bruv. You know what said? He don't do Del Monte. Don't yes me, you know. I swear that, because that's what I felt with that one there. I said, yeah, I need a white suit. And yeah, me and Uncle Slim was like, yeah. And I got to big up my Uncle Slim still. He's like our master grower. Sorry. And basically, yeah, he scrutinizes everything hardcore. Yeah. There will be no bad batches coming out on his watch. Do you get what I mean? There like, and that's a powerful statement to say, you know, because it's easy for one to get underneath but no. My Uncle Slim, yeah, I can go to bed that night knowing that raw, whatever's coming out is 10-10 because he's using it himself. This is a thing where no one's saying, oh, I don't like it, but well, we could make flipping a couple million on it. So let's just put it out. If we can't use it, it don't go out. That's the greatest thing about this model. So it's not complicated and it's not hard driven. If man don't like it, you get what I mean? It's not hitting the shelf. So yeah, man, it's a simple method, but it leaves no chance for error.
Properly
you get what I mean?
Is what patients really want to see right now. We do see those bad batches occasionally, and knowing someone's checking over it means everything to them right now. We've actually got a queue of questions building up. We've got 4 people, and the first of which is from Emma.
Hi, thanks for coming. I just wanted to know how much say you get over the prices and what you can do to keep things affordable in the future.
So, as I said, I know for a fact, yeah, my product is the best in the market right now. I could have easily charged £12 for it. I did it at £8.50 just for that reason. Yes. I've come to spank, man. Don't be trying to charge for bush. You know what I'm trying to say, fam? Yeah? No bush or to the bush. Yeah, man. Like, it should be affordable and good quality for the mans them and the gal them. You get what I mean? That's the whole plan.
Thanks very much. Cheers. I'll let you move on to the next one now.
Thanks, Emma. Chris, you've got your hand up next.
Yeah, it was just from the Discord. It was just
Hey, man,
somebody
like
asking.
T-Rose, you know, sorry. T-Rose, gang shit. Hey, boom, 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 boom. Ray, up with it. Sorry. Yeah, culture. Bigger than us. No, but he's been rigging, you know. Yo, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for your time again. Just someone in the Discord was wondering your opinion on pots, or bags, foil bags, or whatever. Do you have any opinions on that, especially for your products?
Pots versus the aluminium foil packs.
Truth be told, yeah, I like the pot because it feels more medically. You get what I mean? The bags obviously is very same to recreational. You get what I mean? Yeah. And pots keep the buds in better tact. You know what I mean? You know, all the weed in the bud in the tub, nothing's getting crushed. You get what I mean? Until you put your fingers on it, boom. You get me? The bags can keep it fresher, but then you've got more, which is then crumbling the bud, what leaves you more bits. You get what I mean? And yes, bags are easier to carry, but a tub, it just feels more official in for what it is. You could easily get a candy pack and I could easily just, you know what I mean? But with a tub, it makes it feel like raw. It is medicine. But at the same time, you know what it is, yeah? What we have to understand, our job here, yeah, is to change people's perception of it. You get what I mean? Like, with great power comes great responsibility. All of us who know the benefits and the perks of using medicinal cannabis, yeah, it's your obligation to let other people know about this thing. But remember, how you portray it and how you talk about it and deal with it depends. Prime example, I was doing an advert for Fireball, yeah, and I was in East London, yeah, and someone was like, "Oh, congratulations about Big Nasty Medical, man, well done, blah." I was like, "Thank you, my guy." So there's like, so what's the actual process of it? Because it just sounds fairy tale, to be honest, brother. You know what I mean? So when I started explaining to him about raw, you need to get the summary of care, blah blah blah. He said, "Raw, are you like real? Like my actual GP has to know about this." I said, "Yeah, bro. Swear down." Do you know what I mean? So that from that conversation there, he was like, "No, it's true though, fam. It's actual medicine." Until then, his mindset was still looking at it no different as a recreational product. I didn't butt into two undercover police officers. Yeah, they was like, they stopped me because they wanted a picture. They didn't believe it was me, so we just got into general conversation. So I then said to the police officer, "Have you got any injuries? Like, have you got any injuries?" He said, "Well, I hurt my back. I fell over and I hurt my lower back. Obviously, I've hurt my leg and stuff. Rah rah rah." So I was like, "What medicine do you use?" Obviously, he said the same normal stuff. Takes cocodamol, tramadol, naproxen, the normal stuff. So I was like, "Right, have you ever thought of medical cannabis?" What? So yeah, bro, get your doctor to send your summary of care. You know what I mean? And you could try a different thing. You get what I mean? So it's just all in the. I was actually having a general conversation with two undercover police officers. I showed them my prescription. I showed them my tub. Yeah. And they were blown away. But it's, as I said, it's just delivery. Do you know what I mean? And it's all of our obligations for people to see that it's a normal thing. The more we act normal with it, society will make it normal. But if anything you use as a dirty secret or move timid with, it will be used against you. Perhaps.
Thank you. That was a beautiful answer. I'll also say, don't forget about your lamb.
Yeah, I was going to say, Big Nasty, you've got your lamb in the oven, so I'm sure you can't stay for too long while you answer more questions. We've got another 4 at the moment.
Now, this is all good, you know. This is all good. I'm enjoying it, man.
Hey, good up. Okay, we've got Elliot here.
Sorry.
Go on. Eddie, you with
one
us?
more.
If not, we'll go on to Tony. Tony will certainly have something to say.
That's nice, isn't it?
Hey, I meant that in a
Anyway,
good way,
Big
my friend.
Nasty, you may remember the voice from years ago. We used to sit out at the club together and have a little smoke and that. My point is, I used to go to that club, as you know, every Friday. We used to do it up there illegally. And have you got any thoughts of bringing out a space for medical patients within London where you can share information and we can all come together as medical patients?
100%. Now, obviously, everyone who's got prescriptions, as I was saying a bit in my first statement, my G, the more normal it is, like, and the more we start moving as it's being normal, people just start to clock the plate. Remember, if me and you were standing on the road right now, yeah, with our medical cannabis, me and you don't have to look over our shoulder. Me and you don't have to feel intimidated when we see the police car pull by. Me and you don't have to think about, oh, we need to get out of here because it's too hot, because we got weed on us. Do you get what I mean? All those pressures are gone. So me and you can stand there and talk. Vape our pen right there. Well, government officer. All good. It's our responsibility to let other people have that opportunity. You get what I mean? And remember, it's easier said than done. Remember, the same thing what we're on alive right now, talking so casual about, I have friends and family who's in prison for. We can never forget that. So mentally, that's always going to be a challenge. Do you get what I mean?
Can I speak, folks?
Yeah,
Of course.
We've got a slight queue of questions, but go ahead now. It's fine. We've only got one more we're
Hello,
waiting on.
NARSTIE. I'm just saying hello. I'm from Northern Ireland.
Hello.
And hello there. Lovely to meet you. I'm Louise.
Nice to meet you, Lou.
Well, I lose, right? Well, see over here in Northern Ireland, like I'm 56 and I wasn't a legacy user. And I've been a patient now for 4.5 years. The stigma that we've had over here, we have a brilliant lounge, but it's too far away from me. So all I want to arrange is a meet and greet once a month. They have a cup of tea and a vape. We like mine. There's only about 12 of us. But in Northern Ireland, the market is growing and we are promoting like hell. I've used my medicine in hospital. I've come off 57 tablets a day. Morphine, opiates, the whole works using cannabis medicine.
Night.
So just remember that Northern Ireland's here too, not only England, please. That's all.
No, 100%. 100%. And if I can get obviously, if you've got your thing, just ask, send your prescription to Integro and send that bomb your way.
I've been with Integro for 3 years, darling. Best service ever.
Oh, wicked.
It's worth noting any patient can have their prescription sent to IPS Pharmacy, which is Integro's partner pharmacy.
Yeah, and they are fabulous. They have looked after me. And you know what, Big NARSTIE? I'm on benefits. My budget is £240 a month. I can't go over that. Between Integro and IPS and this group and our other group, we make it work. And that's all I can do.
This is another plan what obviously Big Nasty Medical is trying to do. So my thing is this year, obviously my 10-10 is the 10-10. But you see my 8 out of 10, yeah? It's still a Mazzolina, Daddy Yankee with the gasolina. So my thing is this year, see like the leftovers, it may not be full 10-gram pots. It may be like 4 grams, 5-gram pots at the excess. To people who can't afford it, we just give them that. Do you get what I mean? But it's about building a community where we know that. Because remember, it's like you're spending £240, but there's a person who literally can't afford that just due to circumstances. Do you get what I mean? Of how life is. They just can't afford that.
That does complicate things. You have to make sure it's the right medicine for them, and you're not just giving them anything, and you're giving them extra of what they would normally be prescribed, you mean?
Yeah.
Good,
but
that's
it's a problem. It's a problem that definitely needs looking at.
Because terpenes are very important for me. I'm allergic to a whole lot of them.
Okay.
That's something to bear in mind. It's a reason why it's good to see Big Nasty's meds actually having a full terpene profile available for patients that actually kind of goes and lists everything that's in it.
Yeah. There's loads. I can't have sativa. They make me overthink too much because I'm already ADHD. And I'm allergic to metals and I'm allergic to, so, you know, being able to know exactly what's in your MC, much better than you ever would know what's in your pharmaceutical drugs are, you know, it's great. But it's an awful big learning curve.
Night, night, my boy. I'll see you in the morning. Morning. Night, night.
Night, night, little nasty.
Sorry.
Is that little nasty?
Yeah, bedtime duties. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're all good. Okay, Pedro, you've had your hand up for a while. Have you got a question for Big Nasty?
Need a drink.
Yeah. Oh. So my question. What was that?
Go ahead, Pedro. Big Nasty was saying he's going for a walk.
Oh, so my question is, so obviously you've just brought out your medical to the market, and you're definitely a much more recognizable person than other people in the space. But there is another person in the space at the moment who's been talking a lot about bringing out something out to the market at a much more affordable rate while still being at high quality. Drew is sharing. I'm sure you maybe come across him before. I was just wondering, with that in mind, is that something that you're already planning ahead of, or like are you waiting to see what he comes out with, and like is that going to be more competition for you? Obviously, like with how you were saying that, you know, your 1010s probably won't be around the same price. With other people coming into the space, do you think that might force you your hand a little bit, or what's your plan for that?
All right, first things first. There is no competition. Yeah. There's no bad competition. There's no wishing bad on anyone.
Well said.
If whoever can get in this space and has an opportunity to make good quality cannabis, I wish you the best of luck. Nothing more, because remember, it's like anything. All right, I like chocolate, but I wouldn't eat Twix every single day. I mix it up. Dime Bar, Kinder Bueno. Yeah, so there's always going to be room. Like, most important thing, yeah, patients come first. Yeah, I don't care about anybody else who's growing bud. It's all about the patients, what I'm catering for. The patients, what I've catered for, I took a responsibility to give them 10/10. As long as I do that, I can go to bed cool at night. You get what I mean? And as I said, we can vouch that my first product is definitely high end compared to a lot of the stuff that's on the market right now. I didn't sell it at £12 a gram for the same purpose what we're talking about now. I did it at £8.50, and it's going to improve and get better. Remember, this is my first time. Like, I'm just getting into the space, so like you lot are being privileged to see me grow. You get what I mean? And I just hope you respect my honesty as well of trying not to polish a turd and be fake. You know what I mean? And go like everything's all sick. As I said, all suggestions are welcome to help this ship grow. Can't do any better than that.
Thanks for that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Go on, Pedro.
I was just saying thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah.
Come on.
Thomas Rose, you got your hand up.
Yeah. What it is, by the way. How can we as patients sort of try to make awareness bigger, and sort of how can you also try and make the awareness bigger within sort of society? Because I'm trying to, for example, compile a list of sports stadiums and their policies, but it's just constantly hitting brick walls with every venue or every place.
That's my job. Yeah. Obviously, Big Nasty Medicals aim to help that. So obviously, doing like meet and greets, and most important, I'll tell you a bit of a funny story about Amsterdam. Yeah. I don't know. Rest in peace. There's a man called Marcel DeWitt. Yeah, his name's Marcel DeWitt. Yeah, I was very, very honored to meet this man for a short period of time. And this man, yeah, is one of the reasons why Amsterdam exists. So this Dutch man, he told me this story, and I couldn't stop laughing when he told me the story. So this Dutch man had a weed plant, and he took this weed plant and he planted it right outside Amsterdam police station. Yeah. After a couple of weeks, this plant started to stink. Police said to him, "What's this plant?" He said, "Obviously, it's a weed plant." So he said, "Well, you can't grow that here." He said, I'm growing it for an experiment. Yeah. Obviously, I grew it outside the police station, so it'd be safe. Yeah. So the police is like, "No, you can't grow that there. You got to move it away and put it somewhere else." So he got a small little place where he started growing weed. Then he'd go and show the police what he's doing. Yeah. Now, between him and his friends what were smoking, they said, "Why do you smoke weed?" Yeah. They said, "Yeah, for relaxing and comfort and socializing." Yeah. You get the word coffee shop. Yeah. He was one of the main people of starting Amsterdam because of that experiment, what he did about people gathering in a place, taking medicine and talking and socializing, how it was making their mental health feel. Remember, when you're sad and you're with your friends, you're in a good environment and you're talking about your problems or things getting better or getting a motivational speech, all of these things come underneath the bracket of therapy. So technically, all the coffee shops you see in Amsterdam, they're supposed to be therapy houses. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So it's no different to English cannabis patients. How do you get therapy? You'd have to make a building where therapy can be taken in. Hey, Jamie Jackson, I like the smile on your face. You like that one, innit, my G?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. Much
You know what I mean?
to everything that you're doing, honestly.
Oh, thank you,
I think you'll be bringing out a lot more strains as well.
The man from Del Monte, boy. I just need a white hat.
We're definitely going to see more strains from Big Nasty over the coming months.
My hand will walk past.
Hey, thanks for that, Thomas. Moving on to Greg. Greg's from the UK Cannabis
Yeah, man.
Social Clubs.
So I definitely want to be doing a lot of link-ups. I definitely want to be doing a lot of public link-ups where we can get together, and no different like 420.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen some of my experiences where we play rounders, as well as it's not just a day of everyone just smoking weed. We play rounders, play football. You know what I mean? We have fun, interaction with people. You know what I mean? And I think that's what this community is kind of missing to an extent. You get me? And then it will just.
I was going to jump in.
Look, on this group, there's all different ages. Do you know what I mean? But we're all here on one common denominator. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, can build from it.
I was going to just jump in. Sorry, I was just going to jump in before we pass to Greg. I was just going to say that with the MCPA, we're trying to, break the stigma and stuff. We have, I know a lot of patients, like we said, when you start medical cannabis, sometimes it can isolate you more, because you're using cannabis and it smells and stuff like that, and you get a lot of people digging you and stuff. So we do vape and chill Zooms where you can just come, have a vape, chill out, do your medicine, talk about how shit your day's been or whatever, and that's we would just want to do more and more of them, and just make it normal. It's the norm to just be vaping. Don't people shouldn't question it, really. I don't think. Sorry, no.
100%. End of the day, unless all of our doctors are snide, remembering it's mad. You couldn't go to your parents and just say, "Try this." Your parents would say, "What's that? What is this?" But all of your parents, including my parents, would trust our GP. Because remember, it all goes down to what I said about the first two bridges. This medicinal man who studied medicine his whole life is who my mum would take an opinion from, then her self-proclaimed son who's doing herbal medicine. Do you understand what I'm saying? The reason why the medicinal doctor's opinion is so strong and heavy, because you've supposed to have studied gave your whole life to medicine, to know everything about medicine. Do you get what I mean? So when these professionals are writing our prescriptions and saying you are qualified to have cannabis, yeah, you shouldn't be on the street at any time or moment feeling like what you're doing is wrong. It's no different when I would go to the chemist, I pick up an inhaler, my diabetes tablets, do you know what I mean? My blood pressure tablets, and I want to get me ganj. Boom. It's all, as long as you see it that way and you act accordingly that way, people just start to naturally understand. Do you know what I mean? But if you're half-hearted with it and you're timid in what you're doing, you can't expect anyone else to support you with it.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not timid with it at all. I mean, cannabis got me off 50 milligram of diazepam a day, 2 liters of vodka a day. I've been sober for 8 years now because of cannabis. It's totally changed my life.
So
I
drank alcohol in 8
medicate
years
in the
too,
morning. Pardon?
Said he's been free of alcohol for 8 years too.
I haven't drank alcohol in 8 years too.
Oh, have you? Well done, well done.
Yeah,
It's a
I
hard
collapsed on
slog.
Celebrity Break Off. Yeah.
Well done. That's what I mean.
Come
But
on,
cannabis
love that.
keeps me sober. It keeps me sober every day. Reminds me. But yeah, I was just gonna butt in with that. But we'll pass over to Greg because I've been hogging the time.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Chris has had his hand up for quite a while.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
It's okay. Greg was first.
Oh, was he? Sorry. My
Yeah,
bad.
he was.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Greg.
Oh shit!
So I won't be long. How's it going, Nasty?
Oh, he's just checking on his potatoes.
Well, what am I going? You just check the
We can't burn them.
potatoes and that.
Yeah, talking about contamination. We don't want to burn any
let's
burn
go,
stuff.
Trav.
Have you seen the gritweed crisis that's going around at the moment? We've had reports in the UK CSC of gritweed literally all over the UK,
That's
and
old
yesterday
school,
there was
fam.
the first reports in Ireland. It's back, bro.
Sandblasting, that's old school, fam. That's like
It looks like some kind of
2016, 2015 weed business.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the old school days that man
It's
used to make
proper old
hash, yeah,
school, but it's
and buying record with the rubber into the hash. Mental stuff, cause the Renaissance, you know.
Yeah, are you aware of the new crisis that's plaguing the UK, Big Nasty? Because it does seem to be like a new thing that's going back through.
It's terrible, man. It's totally terrible. Hence why I'm trying to get people towards Big Nasty Medical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair point.
So,
There's tight regulations on medical cannabis. We're not going to get bits of plastic bag or sand or grit or whatever in our cannabis, at least. We might get a few seeds, though.
100%, man. 100%. And it's just about getting the information out there. I'm very fortunate, yeah, because my whole ethos, what's made me big, is people power. I'm not a branded celebrity. You know what I mean? I'm because people like me. So that same ethos I've tried to bring into this space, and obviously being around the likes of like Jonathan Ross, like doing my big TV shows, and people understanding like you're not just a pothead. Do you know what I mean? You're actually an intelligent person who takes his cannabis as a medicine. So, and getting more and more into these places where man can start spreading it bigger and bigger. But more so, before you think about doing it on the big scale, how are you dealing it in your day-to-day life? And most importantly, we need to separate ourselves from the black market and the medicinal market. The black market, I can't vouch what's in it. If you don't know where it's been grown. The most important thing you have to understand about the black market, man don't want to go jail. Man don't want to go jail. So, like, if it has to be done in a room full of asbestos, and it has to be done in a basement, bro, Man ain't trying to go jail.
What about people growing at
Is that
home though, and selling through cannabis social clubs? Because you're no stranger to that,
so?
are you?
Sorry, why'd you say that?
That was a loaded question there.
Very low. Good man,
But
Craig.
like Rick Goldie, I don't condone it, to be honest. No, you know, it's safety. Until you smoke something and it messes up your lung, and you get a bit of fiberglass or a bit of mold, and then it's a bit.
I
It's a
think
bit
Greg's
left.
point is, what
I've
about
had
if to
close
get
friends.
around all this, you grow your own and you avoid all the dealers and whatnot? Do you support patients being able to grow their own?
100%, 100%. But it's information. Information. Remember, you know, how can I put it? It's no different as I said in my earlier stages. My mum grows her weed with tea bags. It gets to a stage, she rips it apart and she boils it and drinks it and reads the Bible. So I've stated that, and you growing your own medicine is a norm. Do you get what I mean? Because then at least you know how many times Greg has watered it, what's inside your plant.
Can I speak again?
Where...
Because as I grow my own vegetables, but I am married to someone who works for the social service. I cannot grow one single plant in my garden without the thought of my husband losing his job. I don't want to grow my own. I could do. I'm a level 2 horticulturalist. I could easily grow my own. I've got a raised planter out the back. I've got an isolated back garden, but I don't want to grow it. I don't know how to grow it. I would rather it comes like you, Sarah, to my front door by the postman, and I know it's given to me by a proper professional and a proper nurse. And that's it. Maybe some people do want to grow their own, but right now it's not for many people.
It's different for medicine.
I mean,
of course it is.
I'm the kind of same as Louise, like NARSTIE. Like I was a black market grower myself before I got too ill, and I couldn't water my plants and look after them, and you know, it made me really sad. You know, my babies. So I needed to go legal. I needed my medicine. I need my medicine ready to go now. It needs to be, you know, in a pot, ready to go. There's no way I can grow.
I remember what we have to understand here. Everyone who's black market growing, yeah, it was done out of no choice because they didn't have the information what we had now. The person with the most information wins. So it's like, if you got the secret and I don't, I'm just gonna freestyle. You know what I mean? Until you've given me the information now I have an opportunity. Now, if I decide to go to the black market and buy something funny and something happens to me, I haven't got a leg to stand on. Because I've been fortunate to have the information. I've been fortunate that Sarah, Karen Gray, Pedro, P.P. Stark, Kieran the God in the Grass, Pierre, flipping Thomas Rose, Suzanne Stork. I've had information, and Andy McCabe, Craig Dahidi. I've had information. I can't cry. But the ones who haven't and thinks the only way they can get their weed is from their local dealer in the block, you can't condemn them in any way. You can't, because they've got no information.
No.
That's the honest truth. So the majority has less information, the minority has all the information, and the majority doesn't. So unfortunately, just on the laws of mankind and what's fair, you have to pardon the majority. Because there's an old word that my grandma says, who knows better, do better. If I know right from wrong, I'm going to be treated different from a person who's just a caveman. He doesn't know right from wrong. He just says hope smash. So you can't, but I know right from wrong. It's totally different. So even though me and him standing up in the court, my punishment's way different because I know. So that's the difference.
Four years ago, I didn't know either. 4 years ago, I was taking all them pharmaceutical drugs. And then it was only 2 years ago that I got the BALLS, for want of a better word, to come out of the closet. and stand up for myself. And see now, no matter where I go, when people say to me, how are you out on your electric wheelchair? How are you doing this? I say because of medical cannabis. And I also say to anybody that comes into my house, be it a workman, be it a gardener, if you think you smell cannabis, you do, because I'm a medical cannabis patient. Boom. Boom, NARSTIE. Exactly. Boom. If you think you smell it, you certainly do.
Love
Boom.
that.
Yeah. Isn't that a good one? Right. Take me.
Gee, the next link up, you got to come, you know, Lou. I feel a connection, Lou. I feel a connection.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
Jesus,
lie.
not another one. Not another one.
She did say she
I'm
was
going
married,
now.
NARSTIE, unfortunately.
The
Right,
next
30
link up, man.
Pierre, help me, please. You sat beside me at that conference and held my hand, Pierre. Come on.
Hey, off the back of that though, NARSTIE, will you
boy.
be promoting the fact that you've got a medical cannabis brand in the media? You know, you get to speak to celebrities, you've got a big platform. Are you going to tell the British public
Yeah, man.
about the fact medical is available?
100%, 100%. I'm taking place so far, and really and truly, my first step was making sure that my first product to my patients was right. Now I've done that, I'll move to the next step of obviously the promotion side of stuff.
Yes.
Like I just went out.
Right.
Reason why I was so glad to do this with you guys as well.
I'm listening
Because
to it. What?
like now this conversation and having this Zoom, just like having this conversation. Because remember, this is new territory for me.
No, don't put his water in.
Do you know what I mean? This is new territory for me.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay, NARSTIE, just someone's in the background there.
Oh, yeah, this is new territory for me. So the fact that I'm learning as I go, and obviously I'm trying not to piss off the Home Office and the QCQ and get myself kicked off. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And obviously the typical stigma is what I got to face in the game anyway.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? I have to make sure that everything is prim and proper.
But
Doing everything.
this is a
to
very comfortable space, NARSTIE. It's a very comfortable space. And I've
No,
only
but
found
I'm just being honest.
I know.
I'm just being honest.
I know.
You get what I mean? And this is where I'm at right now. So I'm still learning, obviously, the things I'm allowed to say, things what I'm not allowed to say, how I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm just glad that you lot can be a part of the journey while I'm learning it, and me not trying to fake it like I know everything. You get what I mean? So any point you lot can help me in how not to get myself in trouble. You know what I mean? Because as much as there's people who's happy for this, there's a lot of people who's not happy for me to be in this space as well. And they'll do anything to keep me out of it. So my thing is, I need all the procedures or help me in the best way you don't know, where man can have a longevity thing and start doing really well and providing better patients, better product, and obviously solidifying myself in it. But it's not a one-man thing. You get what I mean? Teamwork will make the dream work on this one.
Yeah, you haven't misstepped whatsoever so far. I mean, the MHRA is very stringent on people mentioning products and promoting them. You haven't done any of that. You know, you spoke about cannabis generally, so all should be good there. We've got a few hands up now. Pierre just put his hand down as I was about to kind of invite him to speak.
No. I was just going to make exactly the comment that NARSTIE is making. We just need to. We're working very closely together to make sure that he doesn't get into trouble, because we know what the rules are. And as he's saying, he's learning, and we're all learning, and we're all moving together. But stuff like that, we just need to be careful of. Thanks.
100%. Okay, so Chris and Pedro, you've already asked some questions of NARSTIE so far. So I'm going to skip ahead to Sal, who's just put his hand up.
Hi there. I just want to say what you're saying about normalising the use of medical cannabis is really important. I mean, me personally, I like to use my prescription anywhere I can. You know, I've used it on an aeroplane before, in hospital, anywhere. But but it also creates challenges for patients as well when they use their medication out in public. You know, I've also been arrested by the police for using my legally prescribed medication. So, you know, I was just wondering, I know you're new in the game, but have you personally had any challenges in that area because like for us, like me, I'm part of the Sanskara platform, and trying to raise awareness is a really big part of what we do with like our medical cannabis roadshow, but it's challenging at the same time.
Have you had any police interactions, Big Nasty?
Fortunately, remember, I've always carried a strong Rastafarian faith wherever I walk, Selassie, Rastafari. So from the jump, I've always been very out. Yeah, but obviously the scrutiny looks and so forth. But you know what it is? It's back to what I was saying earlier, bro, about information. You are like the guy with this information, what like 80% of population doesn't have, and thinks you're walking around with a Loch Ness monster. Long story short, yeah, when man see your prescription and your medical tub and that, they've heard of things like that. It's only till recent, like it's becoming more and more. Do you get what I mean? So being the pioneers of something, you have to understand it's always going to be harder on us first, because we're the first barriers was breaking the door. Do you get what I mean? Like, you got to think, 30 years ago, do you remember how fat TVs were? Actually, like, close your eyes and imagine like a posh TV. It's a 4-man job to carry those TVs with the fat back. Do you get what I mean? Now, there's TVs was thinner than my phone, bro. Like this thin. Like 50 inches. This thin. So, evolution. It's our job. It's our job being at the front of evolution. Yeah, and this is what's going on now. Is to let people know that the dinosaur era is over. Do you get what I mean? Like, medical cannabis is not just for stoners and potheads and kids who ride skateboards and sit in your local park and just sit in the car park in late night in the Tesco's. No. Do you get what I mean? Professionals use it as medicine. Normal people use it as medicine. It's just a normal part of life. Smell me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I work for the NHS and use medical cannabis, and there's plenty of us who do. But yeah, as you say, it's been illegal for decades now with all these stigmas and stereotypes, and it's only been legal for just over 5 years. So it'll take time to change, but we'll get there together, definitely.
Class A. Remember, they put it to a Class A at one stage? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Can we have a moment of silence for the soldiers who are in jail right now for weed? Serious. Real talk. There's bare man right now, bro. Yeah, been in jail for a hot second because of the things that we got in our tub. Casually being able to walk about because they didn't have the information of how to get it. And now when they come out, it's going to be hard for them to get a job. Criminal record, may not be able to go to certain countries. We're a privilege what us are allowed to live because we have the information. And the reason why I keep saying that same thing, yeah, because that little bit of that information, bro, could have saved thousands of young children, white, black, Chinese, Asian, all from doing 3.5 years to 5 years in prison.
Yep.
Do you get what I mean?
We almost need to see what we've seen in the US with Biden kind of doing presidential pardons for previous cannabis patients, right? We need the same here. We can't have people being persecuted for their previous need to medicate. It's that simple.
I'm telling you. I remember, yeah, man. I'm telling you.
Okay, so we got a couple more questions here. Chris, you've had your hand up for ages now.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your time again. It was just one from the Discord. We've got like a stream of this going in case people couldn't join the Zoom. It was just asking, did you have any like preferences for certain strains or profiles for your conditions historically?
Yeah, I like fruit and gas. Gas. You know the ones that are like BP petrol station, petroleum, gas.
All that
you know
Bisabol and Cophiolene and Mycene, that kind of mix.
You know when they sell gas, you have to go like Homer Simpson, like gas. Yeah. What you come here for? I came here for the gas. No one's there.
To be
And
fair,
then
the most
boom.
popular products available on UK medical market for the past few months have been all gas products, be that farm gas or modified gas or anything like that. It's the terps most people want.
See what I'm saying?
Andy, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, by the way. Sorry.
Hi. Yeah, hi. I just got to say, Big Nasty, nice to see you, and well done for pronouncing my name right. No one ever pronounces my second name right. My question is, talking about profile and getting kind of cannabis and medical cannabis more normalized, would you consider, say, doing a Jonathan Ross interview and just, taking a vape? I know you can't advertise, but can you just do that and say, oh, I'm a medical cannabis patient, that actually, this is a thing now?
I'm gonna do a Mazza. I'm in the game. As long as I got you man support and can help me to grow and be solidified. At the moment right now, I've got baby legs. I've just got into this space. You get what I mean? I'm just getting taken serious. I've got to get my roots secure into the ground. You get what I mean? Not let people know this is not a one-off or just a quick money pony trick. Like, man is here to stay. You get what I mean? Produce some good medicine and go to the towns and talk about it. You get what I mean? So I want to be able to do anything I talk, like, if I have to talk about my products right now, I can talk about it with my head held high because I know it's exactly what it says on the tin. Yeah, if it was food, you could see I cooked that with love. But I wasn't just thrown into a bag and say, give me your money. Like, you can tell, like, that chef cared about the food he was making to give to the people who was about to eat it. Do you get what I mean? And we can do that. And obviously, with you guys, people support, pushing me in the right directions, telling me the things where I'm going wrong in. Do you get what I mean? Because remember, a lot of people hate criticism. But my thing is, I'm not Mystic Meg. Do you get what I mean? I haven't got all the answers. I'm learning. I'm not too big to admit that I'm still learning. I know a lot, but there's still a lot I don't know. So if Sarah, if you've got the answer, Andy, if you got the answer, Kieran, if you got the answer, you can put me in the right way to the answer. Please help. You get what I mean? It's the only way it's going to get better. Do you know what I mean? Or you could be a person.
Maybe because we are the MCPA, so however we can help, we will do. We do.
Appreciated. Yeah, man. And from that, it'll give me the confidence to go out there and obviously promote it in the best way I know how, just by being myself. You know what I mean? The good thing about obviously this space right now, you got a person who's naturally himself. How I talk to you now is how I talk to my children, how I talk to anybody. It's just normal. You get what I mean? And with that, boy, big things ahead. I'm gonna throw a sick party though, a big nasty medical launch party. This is gonna be turned up, I'm sorry. No, I gotta do it for the culture. It's bigger than us. No, this is when you mix music with the vibes, yeah. And we can hear Pierre's Arabic house music. It's going off.
Oh no, we need to hear Pierre MCing. It's all patience.
Hey,
We'll
it's going off.
MCP.
Yeah, it's going off.
Hey, that will be great. Patients need to get together more and make a loud noise about the fact medical cannabis is legal. It really is that simple.
That's what I said. If we all got together, it's not make a noise, it's make a lot of
You're
smell.
all invited to the launch
cannabis.
party.
I want an invite.
You're all invited to the launch party.
I'll be
NDAs
there.
and everyone's got to wear marigolds. It's going off.
Got to wear what
Everybody's
clothes? Sorry, Nasty.
You all got to
Gotta
sign
wear
NDAs and everyone's got to wear marigold washing gloves because it's going off.
No bother. No,
Yeah.
marigold, Narstie.
Big fish,
Marigold.
little fish, cardboard box, stack the shelf, stack the shelf, stack the shelf, stack the shelf.
Narstie. They are not called marigolds. They are called marigolds.
Marigolds.
Marigold gloves in Ireland, anyway.
You're quite right there, Louise. They are Marvy Gold.
Thank you. See, Narstie.
Oh, you learned something today there. Okay, Pedro, you've got your hand up.
Mo Farasine. Oh shit.
It was just off the back of like getting together and raising more awareness and just being more active, like more activist like side of things. So I myself have been using medical cannabis for like illegally on the black market for a long time before sorry, I should say cannabis. Before I got my medical cannabis prescription, but quite recently, a a few, like, so we've got the MCPA, obviously, which is raising awareness to more patients, trying to get more outreach. There's also other groups as well. And my question is, would you be interested in joining us and other groups already, like, kind of trying to do things and like showing up and just doing something, not
Yeah,
just like
man.
at big events like 420s, but like even like little things like there's a cannabis roadshow happening at the moment by the people at Samskara, things like that.
Yeah.
Would those be?
Man's definitely going to be active still, and I want to be doing a lot of pop-ups still. As my last EP is sorry, my last EP was called Smoking Grown Folk OG Volume 2. So for the new year, I'm going to be doing a lot of pop-ups. As you know, I got a CBD toothpaste. I got the first ever lemon flavored CBD toothpaste, Calico 420. Obviously I got a lot of CBD products. I was the first one to bring nanotechnology CBD to the UK. You know what I mean? My base pen was the first ever weed vaporizer pen from a UK artist ever. You get what I mean? So, as you know, man's fully involved into this lifestyle and promoting it alongside of everything else I did. You know what I mean? Also, I got an immune booster. I've been working on dog CBD, but it's not legal for the UK. So that's going to be more so for Europe before the laws change in the UK. Do you get what I mean? But yeah, very, very ahead on this thing. So with you guys supporting that, we can do some roadshows, some pop-ups and that, and start making things fun, truth be told. You get what I mean? The more
Make some
fun
noise.
you have and the more happy you are, it's an infectious vibe. Happiness can be infectious. I'm trying to infect people with happiness and vibes. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
I
my
mean, the
guy.
MC, I was just put in, but the MCPA is doing like an awareness campaign. We get in patients to just record a testimonial, like why medical cannabis helps you, what your condition is and stuff like that. And we kind of want to bombard social media with that, just everyone saying, I used to use loads of opiates, now I don't, and cannabis is great. We can actually get it on the NHS and stuff like that. Now you're a patient. Would you be interested in maybe doing a testimonial at some point and how cannabis has helped you with maybe, your
That's
finger
a
in your
lie.
pain?
Oh, Sarah, you just want to see my face again. Oh, no problem.
NARSTIE, I'm doing mine this week. So let's
Yeah, Louise is
Louise?
doing hers. I've done
who's,
mine.
who's gonna are you gonna beat me? Are you gonna beat me to it, or am I gonna beat you to it? Who's gonna go first?
The
I'm still
game
trying
is
to get
up.
all the
Louise down,
Louise.
nasty. You couldn't do that to her.
You go first, NARSTIE. Well, I go first.
I'm gonna beat you.
Are you?
There we
You
go.
go first, then. You go
You better
first.
make it good, though. You better make it good, boy. Right, you do yours, and I'll work on mine. Right?
All right, no problem.
That's a deal. That's a deal.
Fab, let me know,
Hold on.
NARSTIE.
All right. Any more questions? I'm starving. I'm gonna smash my dinner.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we got last two here, and I'll try and make them quick for you, nasty. Robin
No
or
problem.
Bobby, we've got you there.
Hello. Thank you for your time, firstly. I think I've got thoughts on a couple of the points that have been made. So going back to Tony's question about, having a space to consume, are you aware that there are now a number of legal consumption lounges in the UK where people can go to vape their medical cannabis indoors?
No.
Well, there's a number
Yeah,
of
we've got
There's
at
only
least
a
three and
few.
about 5 or 6 in the pipeline as well. We've got Stay Medicated out in Ballyclare in Northern Ireland.
Yep.
We've got the Good
Same me.
Vibes Lounge in Maidstone. We've got the
Smoky Joe's and Kid the Minister.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And
So
then
in terms of pop-ups, that'd be great. And then I think Tony's question was, can we expect to see or hope to see a big NARSTIE consumption lounge at some point for legal cannabis users?
big question.
Go, Bobby.
Let's go,
Go,
champ.
Bobby.
Let's go, champ. Yeah, the future's bright. Future's green.
I think a huge part of normalizing it is normalizing high street cannabis use. So I know a lot of patients don't want the hassle of approaching a venue and saying, can I consume my medication here? And
It's just how, as I said before, it's how it's put across. A lot of do you know what it is, yeah? As I said, if we as the patients hold it like a dirty secret and move half-hearted with it, no one else is going to accept it. So one thing I got to pick up Canacard for when I was speaking to them last, they had an idea of partnering with certain shops, coffee shops, either it be, and putting in a little sticker what says raw cannabis users are welcome. You get what I mean? And now my thing is this now. All right, being a cannabis medical patient, that's one thing. But how does it still go with manners and respect? Now, I as you know, I love bud. And yeah, even though I'm a legal patient and I'm all qualified in that, if there was a bunch of kids sitting in a shop with me, I'd feel uncomfortable to vape in front of them. Regardless if that it's my right to, it's so weird. So how do we still make all? You're supposed to be able to be free where you're smoking, but still have some common sense that raw. Do you get what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Venues are meant to make reasonable adjustments for you, right? And we've got to make reasonable adjustments for other people too.
Correct.
Yeah. And
This is why I think dedicated high street spaces, like a dedicated high street consumption lounge where you can go, like a lot of the places are CBD head shops already, so they've already got kind of an expectation that, but I think just a lounge where you could go and use your, it's a cafe too, but on the high street, I think that's the quickest way to start normalising it amongst the general public who don't know.
I'm going to talk to the team. I'm about to do a
That's what I'm doing, Robin. I mean, there's a
page now. If I can make the team
sorry to butt in.
Page. I know, I'm listening to you, sir.
Sorry, I was just saying there's I'm in Wigan, the armpit of the northwest, but there's a vape shop near me, and they are looking. They're going to set a vape lounge up, so like patients are allowed to go there. I'm going to go there, do our vape and chill sessions, and just normalise it. I think if we get the smell of cannabis out around most of Wigan, I think it's tough then, isn't it? You just have to accept it.
I was really lucky enough on Friday to attend a venue where
Bobby,
I emailed them.
That was amazing.
I emailed them about my prescription, and they were like, "No problems." And we arrived, and they were just like, "Vape on inside, you're fine." And it enabled me to go and enjoy my night as a normal person would, without needing to make a whole big deal of it, which was so nice.
And you danced, did you not? You were able to dance.
I did all night.
Sorry, please, my battery's going to die,
You were good. All right, so let's get to our last question then for
It is 10 to 9, everybody.
Yeah.
We've been on ages, haven't we? We should just
the last question from Kieran, if we can fit it in quickly.
Yeah, my potatoes are getting cold.
I'll be as quick as I can. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everything you've been saying and everything that you're doing for patients. I've got Moroccan peaches coming. I'm looking forward to it. I'll just preface this with, it's not actually my question, but somebody in the Discord has asked. So again, not my question. I'll try and phrase this. So why did Big Nasty launch his product, or perhaps why did you choose, or did you have any choice in why the product was launched as beta irradiated rather than it being non-irradiated?
Boy, you know what it is. In which way about it, it has to be cleaned and sterile, doesn't it? That was the price was affected, definitely, and those are obviously the lessons of evil. What would keep the terps? My whole thing is, they do all of this stuff, and you end up with stuff that doesn't have no taste, blood, and it's all airy. Do you get what I mean? It's the process of it. So my most important was to make sure that raw. What's the best way I can keep up to all the fulfillments, what it needs to pass the bar to get into the country, but boom. And obviously the price would be way more higher if I did it the other way.
You're not saying you're not going to do non-irradiated in the future? No, you won't consider non-irradiated.
100%, but it's about making the price, make it be cost effective for pricing.
That's great.
Yeah, man. I don't want to be charging you guys off an arm and a leg. To get what I mean? So
we won't pay it. We won't pay it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, lots of patients nasty do want to see things non-irradiated, but it's outside your control sometimes if things have to be irradiated to be approved over here. So it is what it is in many ways.
100. And I didn't
Go
want it. I didn't want to do the mad thing and lost all the flavors to it.
Thank
Go and
you.
No,
now,
good things coming. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a
Right,
frosty
but-
Christmas.
I nasty. We best let you get off to your
Yeah.
lemon potatoes.
Yeah,
Like
thank
I'm
you.
I just
still
like to
salivating
say
thinking about
thank
them.
you. I say a
Hey,
big
Nas,
thank you for
hey, you
attending,
suffered it all
Nasty.
together. You
Thank
Yeah.
you.
the first
Right.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy
You
your
gotta come
dinner.
back.
You'll be
It's
back.
Yeah, we've got to see you again in the future, big nasty. We'll have to get you in on a future industry meeting. We do them every month.
Ah,
Let's go.
Oh,
Come on.
that's not fair. That's not fair.
Start, mate.
Not
get away.
I'll cook for you next time, Lily.
Yeah,
You
thank
better
you very much, Big
Bye.
Nasty.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Have a great day,
I
yeah?
appreciate it.
Bye.
Enjoy your dinner.
Take care.
See you later, bye.
That was great.
Aye, that was great.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's fab.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
great.
I was
nasty said a
just
lot of
gonna-
things people want to hear.
I was just
It
gonna
was sound.
say, go on.
I was just going to say he was sound,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very.
it was.
proper down to earth guy.
Spoke from the
Aye.
heart, didn't they?
At the
Thanks to
beginning,
everybody that made that happen.
at the beginning, I thought he was just trying to sell us his product, but then I realised, no, hold on.
No,
This
he
actually-
knows what he was doing.
Listening to what we're saying, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
That's
for
good.
me, I was like really kind of with all the whole idea, but when it kind of came in at 8.50, I was like fair dues, because he could have put it in at 10,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't have been able to say anything about it, but he hasn't. So for me, that's a good start. The product's good, and yeah,
And
I'm
making
kind
the
of
effort to
hopeful.
join us as well. I mean,
Yeah,
my God,
exactly.
he's effectively a celebrity that's taken his time out today to join an MCPA meeting to not
Yeah.
promote his product and just talk about why he's trying to do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
notice he
major
didn't
respect for
mention,
him. Like,
his
Yeah,
product on the
100%.
market at any point. He only answered questions when it was raised, and kudos to him for that.
yeah.
I mean, what I said is, it doesn't. What does it matter who they are or whatever, who the celebrity is? If he's, from what I've seen, he's already improving the medical market. From what I've
Yeah.
had. So if this is the future, then I'm happy for that. So
Totally.
Starstruck, like consciousness about the patient, like his care and his compassion for the patient. Because I feel as a new patient, there's sometimes a disconnect where it's just sort of like this
Yeah.
is it benefits the companies, which I understand because they're companies and they have to make money, but sometimes there isn't that level of like
Conference call with a bunch of idiots, amazing.
Being a patient himself makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
I think he seems to have that much money that the money is not important to him, but the patients are.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he was very, very empathetic, folks.
Totally.
Sarah, was that you two organised all that tonight? Pierre, can I say hello to you again? I'm glad to see you. Only saw you in February, but I miss you. And Karen Gray, hats off to you, darling. I know you well. You don't know me, but that lineup tonight, folks, was superb for
Yeah.
a normal.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you to the guests.
Aye, Jamie.
I'm glad it went well. I was very, very nervous. I felt so sick the whole of today.
Sarah,
No, you've done a great job.
you two, well done. That was
Smashed it.
more than we could have hoped for.
Definitely.
Honestly.
Fantastic. I'm just so glad
well-
we can all get together and have these kind of conversations. And every week that there's more and more people, I just think, wow, we're going to go get somewhere in, doing all
Right.
this.
Came
And
right
sure
up close to hitting our 100
Yeah.
viewer limit tonight, to the point where I was tweeting
Yeah.
out the YouTube link to try and make sure other people could
Who was
watch it,
that?
and that's a fantastic position to be in.
That's you that said we've reached 100. We can't have any more.
Yeah.
You have to pay loads of money.
Oh,
That's brilliant. That is so good. So,
So
well
yeah,
done.
well, we've got the next one is in the next industry rep meeting is on the 8th of January. That because the thing it fell on New Year's Day or something like that. No one wants that, do they? So, but
No.
already so far we've got I can never say his last name, and I never want to say it right, but it's Mason Sozoya from Lyphe. We've got him attending, and we've also got James from 4C Labs so far. But we are looking for more guests if anyone wants to attend.
Good, good, good.
I'll wave
just
my
gonna try
magic
and
wand
make
and see who I
sure
can
that-
find.
I'm just going
we-
to try and make sure that that guests aren't repeated too often, like maybe have the same guest twice every 4 months or so, just to make sure we don't get the same faces.
Have
we reached out to the APPG for medical cannabis. I'd love to get some, someone from the political world involved in our conversations, because they'll
Yeah.
look at it from like a patient and a disability, but also like an economic perspective, I guess. Be really interesting.
There's a couple
Ronnie
of
Cowan
candidates
might be
there.
interested. Sorry, guys. Ronnie Cowan might be interested. He's really, really good. Really
Whoever,
helpful.
yeah. Whoever
Yeah.
you can, anybody here, whoever you can get politically or anything, we're interested in anybody who has any slight interest in, medical cannabis patients or bettering things for
Karen.
us. So get anybody on.
Anna
Get 'em.
Deacon might be a good shout. Not only has she been featured on the BBC documentary and
Yeah,
RTV
I would like to
recently,
get
but
her
she
on.
leads MedCan Family Foundation and is just a fantastic spokesperson in general. So she'd be
Yeah, I
great
would
get on
like to
board
get
for a
her
future
on,
meeting.
definitely.
Can I
That
ask
was
I would
some
also, yeah.
information? Sorry, some like condition-specific charities. So I know from the patient conference that I've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it was really nice to see some representation at CEDS UK there. And I think if you could start bringing in some condition-specific charities, I know Parkinson's UK were there as well, that would bring in a whole different audience view of people who aren't necessarily already using but are interested. And I'm seeing a lot of people in my condition-specific groups posting, asking about medical cannabis. So it'd be really good to
Robin,
maybe
this
look
has
at that.
actually
Nice,
been
start
discussed
being
in the Cannabis
specific.
Industry Council recently about
Mhm.
having patient groups specifically focused around particular conditions. There's quite a few people who do actually feel similarly to you. The CIC at the moment, there's a limit to what I can say, but from what I understand, they're examining the possibility of
That's really
helping new
interesting.
patient groups enter the space with some guidance, what they can and can't say about cannabis in terms of legislation, etc. But then finding a space for different specialized patient groups, because right now we effectively have general users and then a couple of small groups centered around childhood epilepsy. And
Thank you for coming, Karen. Really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Karen.
Thanks for your
I
time
will
tonight,
email
Karen.
you. Thank you very much.
Karen,
Thanks for staying so long.
pleasure.
See you soon. Bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Pleasure to
Yeah, I
meet
know we've
you.
been on a while now. Before everybody goes, I just want to say we've got our we've got our weekly meeting on Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we've also got the Vape and Chill on Friday at 2, and then we've got it on Sunday now at 2 p.m. for people who can't make the Friday one. So hopefully see some of you there. And we've also got the patient testimonials campaign. I know Louise is going to do her video, but we do desperately need more patients to, just tell everybody how medical cannabis has helped you, because we really do need to spread the word, I think.
I'll get that sorted out soon, Anna.
Thank you, Jamie.
No worries.
But that's it. That's it
for
from me.
coming.
So if has anyone else got anything to say, but everyone can kind of leave if they like to. But thank you for
Just
everyone for
thank
coming.
you.
It's been
I
fantastic.
just wanted to thank Pierre for coming too.
Yeah, thank
Aye,
you, Pierre.
thanks, Pierre.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Pierre, for ensuring
More
Big
than happy
Nasty was
to.
here tonight
Enjoyed
as
it.
well, as I know that was your doing.
Yeah, I'm Big
Yeah,
Nasty. Yeah, it
thank
was
you.
amazing.
You stuck it out the whole.
He's a great. He's
Good man.
a great guy. He's a great guy to work with.
Well,
I
thank
think he
you.
impressed a lot of
Well,
patients tonight. He beat expectations by far.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll tell him.
Yeah, that was
Thank you, everyone.
Well, on
All
that
right.
Yeah,
note,
so
guys,
thank
unless
you
anyone
again,
else has
everyone, for
final comments.
attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for having us,
Thanks so much.
Sarah and Kieran. Thanks for having
No
us.
problem,
thank
Louise.
you.
Don't forget to email me back with your
I will
number.
promise. I'll tell you
Send me
why
number.
I haven't
Can't get
emailed
hold
you
of
yet.
you.
Grand cardiology appointment. I'm grand now, but I'm getting there.
All right.
Okay, I'll
Bye,
chat to you
everyone.
Monday. Bye.
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 Thank you. Take care. Bye.